Chapter 480. As the overlord of the extreme north, the ice dragon whale's partner was no small matter. However, it was cruel and didn't make many friends. Most of the soul beasts following it were the same. It couldn't invite any powerful soul beasts from the inner circle. Other than the 5 overlords, there were many powerful soul beasts in the inner circle. However, they usually cultivated in seclusion and wouldn't appear easily. Even so, the ice dragon whale was powerful enough to be the overlord of the inner circle. Although it was the weakest, many soul beasts in the inner circle didn't dare to provoke it. At this moment, a huge figure jumped out from the absolute chill ice spring. This huge beast was as big as a small mountain from afar. It had 4 wings and each wing was emitting strong energy wave. Its body was dark blue and looked like a whale. However, its body was longer and its head was similar to a giant dragon's. However, it was much bigger. As it rushed out from the ice spring, countless cold currents flowed down from its body like a waterfall, making crashing sound. The ice dragon whale looked at the green bird and roared. "Qing Huang from today onwards you are my beast." The green bird was speechless. Of course, the ice dragon whale used its roar to convey its message. "You idiot whale?" The green bird screeched and looked at the ice dragon whale coldly. "Why? Are you not convinced?" The ice dragon whale pointed at the soul beasts below with its wings and said, "They are all my subordinates. Do you think you can run away from me today? How many of my subordinates have you killed in the past 6 months? If I hadn't tolerated you, you would have been dead. Today I am giving you a chance. You better accept your fate and follow me and serve me well." The green bird laughed coldly but remained silent. "I know that you still have a few people who support you in the outer circle. A few days ago, I threw some of your feathers out and waited for them to come to me so that I can wipe them all out. I will let you experience true despair." The ice dragon whale continued. "He even released the news that you were captured by me. He even found many of the treacherous soul beasts that were hiding among my subordinates. I'm guessing that they're on their way here now." The ice dragon whale wasn't stupid. On the contrary, it was very smart. Otherwise, it wouldn't have become the overlord of the 5 overlords in the inner circle. "You don't know, right? When I was in the absolute cold ice cave, I obtained the myriad spirit ice heart. If they dare to come in, they will die without a doubt. Even I can't refine and absorb the myriad soul ice heart in the ice cavern of absolute frost. I know that any soul beast under 100,000 years of age won't have any chance of surviving after releasing its energy. When the time comes, just wait and see." "Ha ha!" The ice dragon whale roared wildly. The blue bird's wings trembled slightly and then calmed down. The 1,000-spirit ice heart in the extreme frost ice cave was the main immortal grade treasure that formed the extreme frost ice cave. Legend had it that it was formed from the heart of an ancient ice beast that died. As time passed, it formed the 1,000-spirit ice heart and the extreme frost ice cave. Of course, this was only a rumor in the world of soul beasts. The blue bird had been in the extreme north for a long time, and had been in the inner circle for a long time. Naturally, he knew this secret as well. However, she did not expect that the ice dragon whale would be able to obtain the ice heart of 10,000 spirit. "Now, I'll ask you one more time, if you're willing to serve me in the future, I can be merciful and spare their lives. Otherwise, they'll all become nourishment for my extreme frost ice cave." The ice dragon whale roared. The feathers on the blue bird's head swayed slightly, but she did not move. Or rather, she did not believe that a soul beast would come to save her at this time. She knew most of the soul beasts in the outer circle. Even if there were soul beasts that had acknowledged her as their boss, many of them had left after hearing about the ice dragon whale. More than half a year ago, although she had lured in powerful human beings to fight the ice dragon whale, there were no more soul beasts around her after that battle. Those that could leave had already left. Otherwise, she would not be alone in the inner circle, thinking of various ways to kill the ice dragon whale. In fact, she had almost succeeded a few times. Once, she managed to convince a 90,000-year-old soul beast of another powerful organization to lure the ice dragon whale out and ambush it. The ice dragon whale was almost killed by the ice dragon whale, but the ice dragon whale's vitality was too strong. In the end, the 90,000-year soul beast could only sigh and say helplessly, "This ice dragon whale has already matured. It owns the 4 absolutes, Manifestation Valley. It has been cleansed by the power of heaven and earth in the extreme frost ice cave and is about to evolve. Killing it is harder than ascending to heaven." Not long after, the ice dragon whale had almost recovered in the extreme frost ice cave. In order to understand the power of the 4 absolutes, the blue bird pretended to be defeated and was captured. She wanted to see what kind of place this extreme frost ice cave was. After being captured, the blue bird was deeply shocked by this place. It was no wonder that the ice dragon whale could be so powerful. With such a treasure land and its amazing bloodline, it could naturally become one of the 5 overlords in the inner circle. The blue bird was about to speak. Right at this moment, rumble! An earth-shattering sound suddenly sounded. The extreme frost ice cave seemed to have been hit by something terrifying, accompanied by a roar. "Ice dragon whale, you're hit. Your grandpa crocodile is here to take your life today. Get out here." Hearing this roar, in an instant, all the soul beasts in the ice cave were stunned. The ice dragon whale flying above the ice spring was also stunned. Rumble! Following that, there were a few terrifying smashes. It actually smashed a huge hole in the sky above the extreme frost ice cave. A windwing blizzard crocodile was flying in midair, roaring arrogantly at the soul beasts below. And on its back, there was a mysterious young man standing quietly. The red fire lotus in his hand was emitting a dazzling divine power, as if it was going to destroy the world. The young man threw the red lotus in his hand lightly. The red lotus, which was as small as a light particle in midair, suddenly exploded. Endless light covered everything and expanded the extreme frost ice cave again. Many of the weaker soul beasts below even fainted from the shock wave. Only then did the ice dragon whale wake up. It was really shocked. It never thought that there would be soul beasts and humans who dared to attack its base. What kind of audacity was this? Even the top powerhouses among the humans didn't dare to trespass into the 4 absolutes, the extreme frost ice cave. Because even if a human soul master had an ice-type martial soul, it was difficult for them to withstand the temperature of the inner circle, and even more difficult for them to withstand the cold air of the 4 absolute. Only death awaited those who entered. Not to mention humans, many other soul beasts didn't dare to trespass. But now, a human actually dared to trespass? End of this chapter. Chapter 481. Roar! The ice dragon whale let out an angry roar. This human had entered the 4 extremities of the myriad Elephant Valley, and it hadn't sensed him at all. Wang Feng was now at rank 50, and with his Shadowmist soul skill concealing his aura, it was almost impossible for soul beasts below 100,000 years to sense him. "He's just a human. Leave him to me, my king." With a light leap, the Skyfrost wolf jumped out of the broken hole. However, just as it jumped out, a bolt of purple lightning struck down from the other side, causing the Skyfrost wolf to howl in pain. Following that, a light flashed and multiple bolts of lightning crackled on the Skyfrost wolf's body. Many soul beasts couldn't help but look at the purple light. In the distant horizon, a purple fox with 7 tails was floating. Its entire body was covered in lightning, and its eyes were golden, exuding a strong murderous aura. Wang Feng smiled. His Shadowmist soul skill could release a layer of fog that could conceal the aura of small soul beasts like Odontosuchus and the Iron Fox. However, it wasn't possible for large soul beasts like the Ice Kira and the Cowardly Kuan. Combine soul skills and end this quickly. Wang Feng shouted, "Cowardly Kuan! Shun Bing, attack!" The Skyfrost wolf directly fell from the sky. Even with its cultivation, it was still somewhat unable to withstand the sudden lightning strike. Furthermore, the seven-tailed lightning fox wasn't simple. The lightning it released was extremely powerful. Every time its tail moved, countless bolts of lightning would strike. The ice dragon whale was furious. The Skyfrost wolf was its strongest subordinate. It didn't expect it to be injured like this. Go! Kill them! The ice dragon whale roared at its subordinate. Its remaining 4 generals led many soul beasts and flew into the sky. But at this moment, the sky above the ice cave of extreme frost suddenly darkened, as if it was covered by something. Roar! A terrifying roar suddenly sounded. Many of the soul beasts were stunned when they heard this voice. Almost all of them were shocked. The ice dragon whale looked at the huge creature in the sky in disbelief and roared, "Dark North Royal Devil Kuan!" In the extreme north, there was only one Dark North Royal Devil Kuan. In terms of size, in the extreme north, if the cowardly Kuan claimed to be second, no soul beast would dare claim to be first. Even the ice dragon whale, which was famous for its size, had a cultivation of more than 90,000 years, and was one step away from reaching 100,000 years, but it could not compare to the 50,000-year-old Kuan. The most terrifying thing was the loss of soul power in his body. The ice dragon whale could clearly sense the loss of soul power within its body. This meant that the loss of soul power was extremely fast and not slow. A 50,000-year cowardly Kuan possessed the power of a 100,000-year soul beast's domain. This wasn't Kuan's true domain, but his special aura. If he were to form a domain in the future, he would be able to suck these soul beasts dry in no time. The ice dragon whale had never expected that the demonic Emperor Kraken, which had never been seen before, would appear here. Roar! Another shriek rang out. In midair, the Kuan opened its mouth and spat out a waterfall-like stream of water into the extreme cold ice cave below. Immediately after, the blizzard crocodile spread its wings, and the hurricane directly blew toward the upside-down current of the sea. It directly turned the water into a waterspout that connected the heavens and the earth. The dozens of soul beasts that had just flown into the air were directly sucked into it. The thunder spirit fox screeched a few times, and its 7 tails suddenly flashed. 7 pure purple lightning energy instantly poured into the waterspout. Dozens of soul beasts were struck inside until they cried out in pain. In this wind and water tornado, there was a terrifying hurricane wind blade, and at this moment, there was the thunder spirit fox's 7 lightning bolts. The power of the combined attack of several different elements almost instantly crushed all the soul beasts under 30,000 years old into pieces. At the same time, roar! Outside the extreme cold ice cave, there seemed to be a huge monster that landed. Countless icicles in the distance suddenly flew up and merged into the wind, water, and lightning tornado. It was Shunbing. The icicles instantly turned into countless ice blades, cutting the bodies of the soul beasts inside. Even the remaining 4 subordinates of the ice dragon whale could not withstand the damage caused by the tornado formed by wind, lightning, water, and ice. Too terrifying. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Although the 4 of them had not trained together for long, they were all very smart. Before they came, Wang Feng had asked them to face to cultivate their soul skills. When they attacked, they would kill the opponent in one blow. From the current situation, these 4 fellows were indeed ridiculously strong. Especially when they worked together, their strength increased exponentially. At this moment, the ice dragon whale looked at the terrifying move formed by the 4 soul beasts and was suddenly shocked. Among these soul beasts, the strongest was only the blizzard crocodile, which was only 70,000 years. The rest were only over 50,000 years, and at best, they could only be considered as elite. However, each of them was able to display strength that far exceeded their cultivation. Of course, this was because of their rare bloodline, but it was far from being this strong. One had to know that there were at least 50 to 60 soul beasts inside, including the Skyfrost wolf. There were also a few 60 to 80,000-year soul beasts, and they were all very strong. But at this moment, they did not have any strength to fight back. They were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Just 4 of them were able to beat all of its subordinates like chickens and pottery dogs, completely unable to withstand a single blow. That human! The ice dragon whale looked at Wang Feng. With its high intelligence, it instantly knew that this human was the backbone of these 4 soul beasts. I will kill you first, then deal with the other 4. The ice dragon whale roared and directly attacked Wang Feng. Its huge body directly broke through the hole at the top of the extreme cold ice cave. Humph! Wang Feng looked at the ice dragon whale and sneered. At this moment, a green cry sounded. Boss Feng, be careful! The blizzard crocodile shouted. In order to use this combination technique, he had already left his original position, leaving only Wang Feng floating in the air with his blood wings. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Wang Feng sneered. The ice dragon whale's body was very big, but for Wang Feng, who had seen the cowardly Kuan, it was very difficult to be surprised. This time, Wang Feng did not plan to use 5th gear. 6th gear. First, he applied the status on himself, then used the Black Lotus to replenish the soul power that was consumed by using the Ice Flame Fury Lotus. Wang Feng took a deep breath and opened his palm. An ordinary-looking small axe suddenly appeared in his hand. Pangu axe! Wang Feng looked up to the sky and roared, and his soul power was continuously injected into it. Now he was rank 50. He was no longer the Wang Feng of the past, and his body would not fall apart after using the Pangu axe. With the injection of soul power, the ordinary axe suddenly bloomed with intense light. In an instant, Wang Feng's body lit up with an intense beam of light that shot into the sky. The aura was like an azure dragon rising out of a stream. The terrifying beam of light almost instantly woke up many powerful soul beasts that were still sleeping and cultivating. Many overlord-rank soul beasts also opened their eyes and stared at the beam of light in the distant sky. The beam of light pierced through the clouds, as if a hole was poked in the sky, and countless clouds scattered around the beam of light. This was the 3rd time Wang Feng used the Pangu axe. End of this chapter. Chapter 482. Just like the previous 2 times, Wang Feng's clothes were all torn apart. His muscles were cracked, and countless blood marks appeared. This was because the Pangu axe's power was too great. Even his handsome face had countless blood marks, which were flowing with pure energy. His short hair was fluttering crazily. His aura was even stronger than a demon god. For a moment, Odontosuchus, Shin Bing, and the other 2 soul beasts were stunned. This was the first time they saw Wang Feng explode with such terrifying power. It was a power that made them feel fear. It was an innate fear. Even the cowardly Kuan was the same. In fact, it was not really a coward, as it had the bloodlines of 2 ancient beasts. It was just not interested in fighting. If it was really afraid, it would not be afraid of anyone. Even the ice dragon whale did not say anything to make it feel fear. However, the current Wang Feng truly made him feel fear. At this moment, the ice dragon whale was the same. Even it did not dare to believe it. It was close to 100,000 years old, and it felt fear towards a human? What kind of joke was this? The emotion of fear would directly affect the performance of a battle. The ice dragon whale roared a few times, as if it wanted to relieve the fear in its heart. But Wang Feng did not give it a chance. The moment Wang Feng held the materialized Pangu axe, the sky changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. Wang Feng leaped, and the axe came down from the sky towards the ice dragon whale. Compared to the ice dragon whale, his body was like an ant compared to a human. Although it was very small, the light condensed from the axe covered half of the ice dragon whale. When he came, Wang Feng thought that he could not give the ice dragon whale a chance to attack. Otherwise, even if he could dodge, the other 4 soul beasts would be seriously injured. so he simply used the Pengu axe to kill it. Of course, one axe would not be able to kill the ice dragon whale. After all, this beast was more than 90,000 years old, and it was very strong. But Wang Feng only needed to hack it to the point of near death, and let the other 4 soul beasts finish it off. The 4 otaku crocodiles teamed up to beat up the ice dragon whale's underlings as if they were toying with vegetables. When the wind, lightning, ice, and water tornado killed dozens of them, they would definitely have a lot of soul power left. Because of the cowardly Kuan's special aura, Wang Feng called it the Dark North Aura. It could absorb the opponent's soul power to replenish itself and its companions. Therefore, the more they fought, the less exhausted they would be. Under the attack of the axe, the ice dragon whale panicked. Its entire body seemed to have turned into a block of ice and became hard. It was also covered with a layer of ice that was at least 3 to 4 meters deep to defend itself. From afar, it looked like an oval ice coffin. As the two collided, the layer of ice cracked inch by inch. Intense light exploded from the point of impact of Wang Feng's Pengu axe. It instantly penetrated the ice dragon whale's defense. No matter how strong one's defense was, it was useless against an axe that could split heaven and earth. Not only did it penetrate the ice dragon whale's ice defense, but it also left a wound that was several meters long on the ice dragon whale's body. Ice blue blood gushed out from the wound. But Wang Feng frowned slightly. This beast was really strong. Even if he swung his axe down, he still wouldn't be able to seriously injure this beast. If it were Odontosuchus and the other 3, they would probably be on their last breath. Is this the overlord of the extreme north? Wang Feng thought to himself, it is indeed very strong. If I were in 5th gear, I probably wouldn't be able to defeat it. Its abilities are at least comparable to a rank 94 titled Douluo. It's not far from a rank 95 transcendent Dalu. As he thought until here, Wang Feng swung his axe down again. In comparison, Wang Feng's heavenly wind lightning was much simpler and more relaxed. It was simple and direct. His axe was the only strength he had. He unleashed it instantly. As light flashed, the 2 axes landed on the ice dragon whale's body. This beast immediately let out a tragic cry. After 3 axes, it was severely injured, even though it had 90,000 years of cultivation. Wang Feng, on the other hand, was secretly shocked. This beast was really strong. It was only severely injured after 3 axes. 3 terrifying wounds appeared on the ice dragon whale's body. Fresh blood flowed out continuously. Even with its huge body, it couldn't withstand such injuries. I can still hit it 4 more times. Wang Feng didn't hesitate. This ice dragon whale was very strong. As long as it took a breather, this battle would be meaningless. Odontosuchus's 4 soul beasts had great potential. But even if they worked together, they wouldn't be a match for the ice dragon whale. Boom, boom, boom. 3 consecutive explosions occurred in the clouds. Each time, it meant that Wang Feng's Pengu axe had landed. Wang Feng had no choice. Although the Pengu axe was strong, he wasn't strong enough. It was impossible for him to kill a 90,000-year soul beast with just 2 or 3 axes. If this was an ordinary 90,000-year soul beast, it wouldn't be able to withstand a few axes. But this was the ice dragon whale. Wang Feng didn't hold back. His soul power was full, but he could only swing his axe 7 times. His body was also at its limit. The last 4 axes didn't stop at all. They landed on the ice dragon whale. The ice dragon whale was almost split into 2. Wang Feng could even see the ice dragon whale's ice blue bones. But they were also broken by the Pengu axe. After 7 axes, the ice dragon whale was on the brink of death. Wang Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He had calculated the ice dragon whale's strength before he came, and it seemed like it wasn't out of his expectations. The ice dragon whale didn't have much fighting strength in this state. Later, he would let the 4 of them vent their anger before he took its soul ring to break through. At this moment, Odontosuchus and the other 3 soul beasts had successfully dealt with the pair of soul beasts. Close to 60 10,000-year soul beasts had been dismembered. They fell to the ground and formed a mountain of flesh. Cowardly Kuan was the leader. The other 3 soul beasts stood on Cowardly Kuan's back and looked at the ice dragon whale. This was because the ice dragon whale's current appearance was too shocking. Its huge body was almost split into 2. But it wasn't dead. Yes, even so, the ice dragon whale wasn't dead. The 4 soul beasts were shocked by Wang Feng's strength, but they were also horrified by the ice dragon whale's vitality. The 4 of you, Shunbing, Tai Hu, you can do whatever you want to it. Leave the rest for me to kill. Wang Feng coughed and retracted his Pangu axe. Although there were many cracks on his body, he still had some strength left. It would take a few days before he could use his Pangu axe again. Following this, Wang Feng used his golden lotus to heal himself and quickly recovered. Hearing this, the 4 soul beasts, especially Shen Bing and the Tai Hu, couldn't help but roar into the sky. But at this moment, a loud, green cry could be heard. Wang Feng was slightly stunned. It was Little Qing's cry. When they came, Wang Feng immediately sensed Little Qing. However, their strategy was to fight quickly and not give the ice dragon whale any chance to react. Therefore, Wang Feng didn't look at Little Qing immediately. Hearing this cry, Wang Feng was stunned. Although they hadn't seen each other for more than 3 years, he immediately understood what Little Qing was trying to convey. Master, be careful. The ice dragon whale still has a trump card. Wang Feng was stunned. He looked at the ice dragon whale and thought, what other trump cards does it have? But in the next moment, P.S. We have guests at home. There should be another 2 or 3 chapters tonight. End of this chapter. Chapter 483. Roar. The half-crippled ice dragon whale let out a furious roar. The roar sounded like it was venting something, but it also sounded like it was laughing crazily. It only had 1 breath left, but it was able to use its last bit of strength to let out such a roar. It was a real fight to the death. That human youth was too freaking weird. He was completely unreasonable and directly used 7 terrifying axes. It was completely stunned and didn't even have time to react. Because Wang Feng's 7 axes only took a few seconds, he didn't give the ice dragon whale any chance to breathe. The ice dragon whale didn't expect that it, one of the 5 overlords, would lose so miserably, and it was in its own home ground. Even half a year ago, that human expert wasn't as terrifying as this youth. And at that time, it wasn't in the extreme cold ice cave, but in the outer area, so its strength was slightly weakened. In the extreme cold ice cave, it was at its strongest state. It didn't have any major injuries, but it ended up in such a state. But unfortunately, this youth was still 1 move away. Really, if he used 1 more move, the ice dragon whale knew that it would definitely die. But the other party was also exhausted. It was already terrifying enough to be able to use such a terrifying move 7 times in a row. And the mysterious weapon that could cause fear to it had also disappeared. Now, it was finally its turn to counterattack. Even if there were 4 strong soul beasts, the ice dragon whale wasn't afraid at all. With a furious roar, the ice dragon whale opened its mouth that was already filled with blood. An intense light flew out from its mouth. The moment the light flew out, Wang Fengxin's heart jumped. An extremely dangerous feeling suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart. Soul core. Wang Feng's pupils shrank. Wang Feng remembered that in the 2nd book of the original novel, there was a setting about soul cores. In fact, in the current timeline, soul beasts should also have soul cores. They also relied on soul cores to cultivate. But was that a soul core? Wang Feng looked at the ball of light and was stunned for a few seconds. In these few seconds, the 4 soul beasts that were close to the ice dragon whale seemed to be frozen. Following that, under the illumination of the icy blue light, Odontosuchus, Shunbing, and the other 3 soul beasts were covered in a layer of white ice at a speed visible to the naked eye. Odontosuchus and Iron Fox, who were the smallest in size, were turned into pure white ice sculptures in the blink of an eye. The larger Ice Kira struggled and roared a few times, but it was unable to break free from the white mysterious ice, and was quickly frozen. Even the dark North Royal Kraken, which had the largest body, was quickly frozen by the icy blue light. I can't break free at all. Strange. It was incomparably strange. They were all ice-type soul beasts, and Odontosuchus's 4 soul beasts weren't ordinary ice-type soul beasts. Even the blizzard crocodile with the weakest bloodline had an extremely high resistance to ice, so how could it be frozen? Let's not talk about the timeline. Even if it's a soul core, it can't be this strong. Wang Feng focused and took a deep breath, especially Shinbing. She has the highest resistance to ice among the 4. How could she be frozen? Unless this thing's grade is much higher than theirs. These Overlord-class soul beasts weren't easy to deal with. They were hiding such a trump card. Wang Feng's eyes flashed as he saw that the center of the ball of light was an irregular rhombus-shaped crystal. And from the looks of it, the ice dragon whale didn't seem to have the ability to control it. But with the appearance of this rhombus-shaped crystal, the space around it seemed to be frozen, and the energy waves were violently vibrating. Roar, roar, roar. The ice dragon whale roared violently at Wang Feng. Its intelligence was already very high. Although it could not speak in human language, it could clearly transmit information to Wang Feng's mind through its roar. Wang Feng's face darkened. This rhombus-shaped crystal was very special. It gave the ice dragon whale the ability to counterattack. The ice dragon whale's meaning was very simple. You're all finished. There's no chance of survival. Just wait for your death. Ah. At the same time, that's the 1,000-spirit ice heart. It's formed from the heart of an ancient ice beast that had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years. It's because of this 1,000-spirit ice heart that the extreme frost ice cave is here. Qing Qing's words came again, and there was a hint of anxiety in her voice. I see. Wang Feng couldn't help but think. That was most likely a very ancient ice beast. After its death, it had condensed all of its cultivation into its heart, and after undergoing the changes of the sun and moon, it finally formed this myriad spirit ice heart. This kind of supreme treasure was not inferior to the immovable ice fire Yin Yang well. And the ice fire Yin Yang well couldn't be moved. It was divided into 2 springs at that place. But this 1,000-spirit ice heart could be moved. It was just that it was almost impossible to use it. The ice dragon whale swallowed the crystal in its mouth and barely sealed it. It wanted to absorb the energy within, but it didn't dare to do so. Otherwise, it would be even stronger now. It should be able to absorb the energy bit by bit. The reason why it recovered so quickly from its injuries might be related to this. This 1,000-spirit ice heart should be the key to controlling the extreme frost ice cave. It was a pity that the ice dragon whale couldn't use it. Otherwise, with the special terrain of the extreme frost ice cave, if the ice dragon whale could use the 1,000-spirit ice heart, Wang Feng and the others wouldn't be able to break in so easily. Soon, the ice dragon whale's body started to freeze. But only the broken half of its body was frozen. Its head was still intact, but Wang Feng could clearly see the madness in its eyes. Wang Feng's body had been tempered by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, but his soul power was weak now. Layers of frost started to form on his body. Even the ice immunity had no effect on the energy emitted by the myriad spirit ice heart. Once one was frozen, one's life force would decrease rapidly. Death was the only way. This wasn't an ordinary freezing. Wang Feng could clearly feel the life force of Odontosuchus and the others dropping rapidly. But the ice dragon whale couldn't escape death. It could barely control the energy of the 1,000-spirit ice heart, but it couldn't withstand the energy. In addition, it was on the verge of death. It couldn't live for long. but it could resist a little because it had been sealed in its body for a long time. Now, how do I get out of this? Inside the ice crystal cage, Qing Miao looked at Wang Feng. Her body was also starting to freeze. But because she was far away, she wasn't as close as Odontosuchus and the others. Furthermore, her bloodline had mutated, so she could resist a little. Qing didn't expect to meet Wang Feng in such a situation. But now, if I'm at rank 49, maybe I'll really die here. At this moment, Wang Feng seemed to think of something. He grinned. Unfortunately, I'm at rank 50. The ice dragon whale seemed to understand what he meant. It snorted and thought that this human was stupid. What was the difference between rank 49 and rank 50? For normal soul masters, there was no difference. But for Wang Feng, there was a huge difference. That was the fifth form of the green lotus. Wang Feng took a deep breath and opened his palm. The chaotic green lotus bloomed. As Wang Feng injected his soul power into it, the lotus head shone brightly. It rose and slowly changed shape in the air. Finally, it formed an ancient cauldron. The body of the cauldron was engraved with the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, and earth. It was extremely mysterious. It was the fifth form of the chaotic green lotus, cauldron of heaven and earth. End of chapter. Chapter 484. The cauldron of heaven and earth was formed from the chaos green lotus. In Wang Feng's memories, this item had many effects. It could refine all things in the world, return to the origin, and even increase the grade of many treasures. Not long ago, when Wang Feng reached rank 50, he did not expect the fifth form of the Chaos Green Lotus to be this cauldron of heaven and earth. At that time, he felt that this item was temporarily useless to him and could not increase his combat strength. Wang Feng did not study it in detail because he had been training with the four fellows. But at this critical moment, Wang Feng suddenly thought of this item. It was said to be able to refine all things in the world and return to the origin. Then what was its actual use? Could it refine this myriad spirit ice heart? According to Wang Feng's deduction, it should be possible, but he had not tried. At this time, Wang Feng had no other way to break this myriad spirit ice heart, unless he ran. But if he ran, would he still be Wang Feng? Impossible. Using what little soul power he had left, he transformed it into the fifth form of the cauldron of heaven and earth. In fact, the first transformation to the fifth form was the most exhausting. Wang Feng used his rank 50 soul power to transform the Chaos Green Lotus into the cauldron of heaven and earth. When the form was revealed and transformed again, it did not require as much soul power. It was just that the consumption of soul power was different in how it was used. Because there was not much soul power left in his body, Wang Feng used the Black Lotus to replenish it. His body was weak now. Although his body could withstand using the Pangu axe for the time being, he entered a weakened state. So even if he had soul power, he could not use the Pangu axe for the time being. Simply put, he had no soul power, but his body's attributes were greatly reduced. He could only use other methods, and when the cauldron of heaven and earth materialized and appeared in the air, a terrifying suction force came from the cauldron almost instantly. Wang Feng stared at the myriad spirit ice heart and used his mind to drive it. In an instant, the suction force of the cauldron of heaven and earth increased a little. The energy of heaven and earth seemed to gather into a substantial tornado and was sucked into the cauldron. The ice energy emitted by the myriad spirit ice heart was also crazily sucked into the cauldron of heaven and earth. Absorb again. Wang Feng stared at the myriad spirit ice heart and shouted. Because he had not studied it in detail, he was not very proficient in controlling it. As Zhang Xian infused his soul energy into the Qiankuan cauldron, the diagram on the surface of the Qiankuan cauldron glowed slightly, as if it was taking on a real form. The mountains, rivers, plants, the sun, the moon, and the stars on the cauldron began to move slightly, as if they were evolving into a new world. According to Wang Feng's understanding of the 8 trigrams of the Book of Changes, the universe represented the world. Since it was named Qiankuan, it could be seen how powerful the 5th form cauldron of heaven and earth was. The suction force became stronger again. Finally, Wan Lingbing was moved. It wasn't just floating in the air. After all, the ice dragon whale had chased the myriad spirit ice heart out of its body and unsealed it with the intention of dying together with it. This was because it was unable to control the myriad spirit ice heart after it was released. This type of sealing soul skill was extremely powerful, but it had no effect on the same item. It would also be impossible for it to seal the myriad spirit's ice heart again. After all, this was its trump card. If it had known earlier that this human's 4 soul beasts were so strong, it would have summoned them immediately. At that time, even if its subordinates died, it didn't matter as long as it could eliminate the human. Unfortunately, he could only perish together with the other party now. But now, after the cauldron of heaven and earth appeared, the ice dragon whale's eyes widened. When the myriad spirit ice heart was slowly being absorbed into the cauldron of heaven and earth, its huge eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. This is impossible. The myriad spirit ice heart isn't something that a human soul master like you can control. The ice dragon whale roared furiously. It couldn't understand. Even with its strength, it couldn't refine and absorb the myriad spirit ice heart. It could only be sealed in its body. Why could this human do it? Keep. Wang Feng was elated. This cauldron of heaven and earth is indeed impressive. If I can refine this myriad spirit ice heart into its energy source, I can absorb it. That would be perfect. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. This myriad spirit ice heart contained terrifying energy. It was even more perverse than the ice fire yin-yang well. Unfortunately, ordinary living beings couldn't absorb it at all. If the ice dragon whale couldn't absorb it, a rank 50 soul master like him wouldn't be able to either. This wasn't like those immortal herbs. It was a divine item comparable to the ice fire yin-yang well. It was a crystal core formed from the heart of a soul beast that was hundreds of thousands of years old. How could it be absorbed so easily? If Wang Feng swallowed it directly, he would probably be frozen into an ice sculpture. However, if the cauldron of heaven and earth could refine the myriad spirit ice heart into its energy source, Wang Feng was confident that he could refine his brain and sternum with the karmic fire of the red lotus. When that happened, his entire body would become one, and his body would reach a higher level. He watched as the myriad spirit ice heart was completely absorbed into the cauldron of heaven and earth. If the ice dragon whale had a human form, it would have turned pale and its eyes would be filled with despair. How could a human be able to control such a divine object? Wasn't his martial soul an axe? Now, what the hell was this? The ice dragon whale couldn't understand. Its life had been turned upside down. At this moment, Wang Feng could feel the changes in the cauldron. He smiled. This was because he could clearly feel that the myriad spirit ice heart was being refined by the cauldron of heaven and earth. However, it would take a long time. This myriad spirit ice heart was too strong, and he was too weak now. As the myriad spirit ice heart was absorbed into the cauldron of heaven and earth, the ice on Odontosuchus and the other 4 soul beasts started to melt. After a while, the 4 soul beasts returned to their original state. I'm freezing to death. The blizzard crocodile shivered. Wang Feng guessed that the freezing effect of the myriad spirit ice heart didn't only affect the physical body, but also the mind. Otherwise, how could the blizzard crocodile say such words when the temperature of the ice on its body was already very low? After the ice on its body was removed, the ice dragon whale was in good spirit. After all, it had the strongest resistance. The demonic Emperor Kuan was huge. Although it was turned into an ice city, it wasn't a big deal. It had a strong life force. Compared to it, the 7-tailed thunder spirit fox was much weaker. Its resistance to ice was the worst. Logically speaking, it wasn't easy for it to live in the extreme north. The seven-tailed thunder spirit fox was a pure lightning-type creature. It was just an ordinary spirit fox before. In Wang Feng's impression, spirit foxes were like Ivan in Pokémon. Other than looking good, they were useless. However, after evolving, they could change into different forms. This was their biggest characteristic. However, Wang Feng's nickname, Iron Fox, was not for show. At this moment, it was the most heavily injured. It dragged its body and walked step by step to the ice dragon whale that had already landed on the ground of the ice cauldron of absolute frost. Odontosuchus and the cowardly Kuan were shocked. At the same time, the ice dragon whale walked to the front of the ice dragon whale. End of chapter. Chapter 485. It's you, little bastard. You're actually not dead? The ice dragon whale looked at the ice Kira and said with a weak voice. Wang Feng felt that these words were familiar. Shen Bing didn't say anything and started to ravage the ice dragon whale. The ice dragon whale was extremely tenacious. Its body was about to break into two, but it still wasn't dead. Don't kill it. The iron fox said slowly. Boss Feng needs its soul ring to break through the bottleneck. Don't worry, I'm not willing to kill it like this. The ice Kira let out a low growl. The iron fox. Immediately after, miserable cries could be heard from the entire extreme frost ice cave. It was as if the entire extreme frost ice cave was trembling violently. Wang Feng smiled. While recovering, he continued to use the cauldron of universe to refine the myriad spirit ice heart. After that, he asked Odontosuchus to carry him to the ice crystal cage. Boss Feng, what's your relationship with goddess Qing Huang? The violent snow crocodile asked naively. Don't tell me you really. Odontosuchus still remembered clearly that 1.5 years ago, it was because he took out Qing Huang Er's feather that Boss Feng changed his attitude and said that he wanted to deal with the ice dragon whale. He remembered that he was shocked at that time. Now, he finally found Qing Huang Er. Don't tell me Boss Feng is really going to, Pa. Wang Feng slapped him on the head, causing his head to tilt to the side. The violent snow crocodile. Wang Feng couldn't be bothered with Odontosuchus. He broke the ice crystal cage with a punch. After losing the myriad spirit ice heart, the ice crystal cage became much weaker. From this, it could be seen how important the myriad spirit ice heart was to the extreme frost ice cave. It was equivalent to the activation of the core. Without the myriad spirit ice heart, this place would probably slowly degenerate. Just like the icefire yin-yang well, without the two springs, it would also degenerate rapidly. Wang Feng walked into this huge cage and looked at little Qing in front of him. His eyes were filled with yearning and vicissitudes. From a little green bird to a big green bird, and then to the current Qing Huang. The changes were earth-shattering. She had become bigger, stronger, and more beautiful. But at this moment, Qing Huang was lying limp on the ground. Wang Feng suddenly recalled the first time he had met this little blue bird. In order to save a few chicks, this little green bird was almost eaten by a snake. Of course, she did not give birth to the baby bird. She was just passing by and standing on the branch. The next time he met her, she was severely injured and lying on the ground. At that time, his martial soul had just awakened. In order to test the first form of the golden lotus, he treated her. Presumably, her spiritual intelligence had already been awakened, right? The second time he met her, she was seriously injured and lying in the woods, as if she was trying to blackmail him. Now, history is always shockingly similar. Look at yourself. Wang Feng squatted down grumpily and touched the feathers on the little green bird's head. He gently combed the messy feathers that were frozen just now. He ran away with the two little fellows. There's no news at all. Wang Feng helped the little green bird comb its feathers while scolding it. You even ran so far away. After raising her for a few years, her temperament had become more and more unruly. Now, those two little fellows had gotten into trouble. Fortunately, they still have consciousness, and I still have a chance to revive them. If they're really gone, then you. Wang Feng scolded as he spoke. Chirp, 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 the little green bird cried out twice with some grievance. In fact, she did not know how to speak human language because Wang Feng did not teach her at that time. She only used calls to communicate with spiritual consciousness. That was because her cultivation was not that high yet. Listening to this familiar call, Wang Feng shook his head again. The violent snow crocodile outside was stunned. Qing Huang was a goddess. She was not afraid of anything, not even the ice dragon whale. At this moment, she was actually being reprimanded by Boss Feng. Could it be that Qing Huang was also Boss Feng's? The violent snow crocodile had never seen Qing Huang like this. Since Qing Huang came to the extreme north, many soul beasts had a strong, proud, noble, and inviolable feeling. When fighting, she was also very fierce and very protective. If one was not careful, they would be directly exterminated. It could be said that she was extremely fierce. But now don't. In the violent snow crocodile's knowledge, who was qualified to touch goddess Qing Huang? Not to mention touching her so intimately right now. Moreover, goddess Qing Huang's eyes were filled with enjoyment and a little shyness. Goddess Qing Huang, your bird setting is broken. Wang Feng also knew that he could not blame the little green bird because when the three of them left, although the little green bird took the lead, Yaya and the Star Moon Fox suggested it. As Yaya was of the ice attribute, she felt that she was about to evolve, so she wanted to cultivate in a world of ice and snow. Therefore, Qing Qing and Xing Xing hit it off and brought Yaya to various places. There was no lack of various battles with soul beasts and even humans. After a few months of searching, the three of them finally came to the extreme north. The moment they arrived, Yaya fell in love with this place. The three of them then helped Yaya to cultivate and evolve here. Therefore, there was the matter after that. After hearing this, Wang Feng let out a long sigh. I don't blame you. Wang Feng stood up. At this time, Qing Qing had almost recovered and stood up too. Compared to a few years ago, she had changed too much. As soon as she stood up, she hugged Wang Feng with her wings. Master, I miss you so much, Wang Feng nodded. I guess I'm right. It seems that I didn't raise her for nothing. However, the next sentence made Wang Feng speechless. Especially when I'm injured. Woo-woo, it hurts so much. Wang Feng. So you want me to use the golden lotus to heal you, right? Wang Feng glared at Qing Qing. Actually, I've been thinking about it every day. Originally, I wanted to bring the two of them back after they evolved. But I didn't expect to encounter what happened after that. You taught me not to be a coward. Just do it. Qing Qing snorted and said, This idiot whale is too hateful. It wants me to submit to it. I've been master's bird for a long time. As soon as he said that, Wang Feng immediately interrupted him. Wait, Qing Qing, don't say that last sentence in the future. If you want to say it, please change the bird into a human. Qing Qing flicked the feathers on her head and blinked. But I can't turn into a human yet, I can't say that. Okay. The violent snow crocodile was outside the ice crystal cage, watching goddess Qing Huang and Boss Feng having all kinds of intimate contact. That beautiful chirping sound made the violent snow crocodile feel like it was the sound of a fairy. However, he finally understood what was going on. Obviously, goddess Qing Huang had been Boss Feng's soul beast for a long time. It seems that my status will be pushed back again. The violent snow crocodile was a little sad. At this time, the ice Kira and the thunder spiritual fox had also finished venting. Wang Feng and Qing Qing chatted for a while and slowly walked towards the ice dragon whale. It was time to absorb the fifth soul ring. P.S. It may be after the new year that the update will be restored. End of this chapter. Chapter 486. Right now, the ice dragon whale didn't even have the strength to howl. The combination of the Ice Kira and the Thunder Spiritual Fox had drained its last bit of strength. As it watched Wang Feng walk over, the Ice Dragon Whale could only stare at him with a mocking look in its eyes. A rank 50 soul master wants to absorb my 90,000-year soul ring? That's impossible. The Ice Dragon Whale stared at Wang Feng with hatred in its eyes. Its eyes were bloodshot. It wanted to maximize its willpower. Even if it was killed by this soul master, it wanted to preserve its willpower in the soul ring so that it wouldn't be destroyed by the willpower in the soul ring. Be careful, Boss Feng. The Thunder Spiritual Fox walked over and said, "This beast's willpower is immense. It's filled with hatred for you. You have to be very careful when you absorb its soul ring." Although it wasn't human and didn't know how soul masters cultivated, it knew that it was very dangerous to absorb the Ice Dragon Whale. Wang Feng nodded. He was probably the person this Ice Dragon Whale hated the most. However, Wang Feng wasn't afraid at all. Although the cauldron of heaven and earth was refining the myriad spirit Iceheart, and he couldn't use the Black Lotus to absorb the Ice Dragon Whale's ruthless resentment, Wang Feng had the Dark Angel Martial Soul, so he could absorb it. It might even strengthen the Dark Angel Martial Soul. This was because Wang Feng felt that the Dark Angel Martial Soul hadn't been developed yet. Although the Dark Angel Martial Soul was more sensitive to various emotions and had a wider range, it only increased its attributes by less than 2 times. It only had various deterrence effects on enemies, and it was equivalent to weakening the enemy's strength. However, the Dark Angel Martial Soul could become stronger. Furthermore, Wang Feng felt that the growth of the Dark Angel Martial Soul wasn't as simple as absorbing soul rings. It needed specific opportunities to grow, otherwise, it wouldn't have taken so long to awaken. Furthermore, it was awakened under the guidance of the soul-slaying spear. Perhaps it needs to absorb the aura of various negative emotions, Wang Fengxin pondered. This was Wang Feng's guess. This shouldn't be a simple dark-type martial soul. He could tell from the 6 pairs of wings. Wang Feng walked over and formed a sharp blade with the mysterious underworld spike. He stabbed it into the Ice Dragon Whale's head. Roar! The Ice Dragon Whale let out an indignant roar before it slowly closed its eyes. Its black and red soul rings slowly lit up. When he saw this soul ring, Wang Feng knew that this Ice Dragon Whale was only 2,000 years away from becoming a true 100,000-year soul beast. It really wasn't easy. Wang Feng sighed softly. It really wasn't easy. If Wang Feng hadn't subdued Odontosuchus and the other 3, he might have been the one lying on the ground right now. If Wang Feng's 5th form wasn't the cauldron of heaven and earth, the best outcome would be for Wang Feng to flee. At level 50, he had struck the Ice Dragon Whale 7 times with the Pengu axe, but he still couldn't kill it. One could only imagine how strong this fellow was. It was only after 2 years of cultivation that he was able to achieve what he had today. It wasn't easy to obtain this 90,000-year soul ring. This was especially true for a mere rank 50 soul master. If news of his plan to kill one of the 5 overlords of the extreme north were to spread, many people and soul beasts would be shocked to the core. At this moment, the 4 soul beasts were surrounding Wang Feng. The largest cowardly Kuan was flying above the ice cavern. The Ice Kira was leaning against the ice walls of the cavern, staring at the corpse of the Ice Dragon Whale. It was waiting for Wang Feng to absorb the soul ring so that it could be crushed into ashes. The Thunder Spirit Fox was already observing the environment of the ice cavern. Qing Qing ran not far from Wang Feng and looked at him seriously. From time to time, she would wave her tail elegantly to shake off the dew on her feathers. After the ice heart of 10,000 souls was absorbed by the cauldron of heaven and earth, the temperature of the ice cavern began to rise. However, because the temperature of the ice cavern was extremely low, it wouldn't melt quickly. Wang Feng didn't hesitate. He released his Dark Angel and entered a state of possession. He didn't have to worry about being sensed if he used it in the extreme north. This was because the environment here was too special. The myriad Elephant Valley was filled with unique terrains. If a soul master didn't enter, their senses would be blocked. Qian Rinxue's dark angel wouldn't be able to sense him either. In addition, this place was very far away from the Heaven Do Empire. The four soul beasts trembled at the sight of the dark angel and turned their attention to Wang Feng. Wang Feng had never used his dark angel in front of them before. This was their first time seeing it. Even Qing Qing was seeing it for the first time. She blinked and looked at Wang Feng. She felt that he was a little unfamiliar. This was because his aura had changed too much. Every time Wang Feng used his dark angel, his aura would become extremely evil, dark, cold, and evil. This was especially true for the 6 pairs of pitch-black wings behind his back. When they flapped slightly, they exuded a cold and evil aura. The most terrifying thing was Wang Feng's upper body. Because he had just used the Pangu axe, Wang Feng's upper body was naked. One could clearly see that there were 7 flowing blood-colored black patterns on his upper body. They converged at his heart from 7 different positions. They seemed to be channeling into his core. There was a faint energy flowing slowly. It was very strange. Wang Feng touched them. He could vaguely feel that there was a special energy flowing in these 7 blood-colored patterns. However, he didn't know what this energy represented. The 4 soul beasts looked at Wang Feng with fear in their eyes. It was a kind of instinctive fear. Wang Feng sat cross-legged beside the ice dragon whale's corpse. He took a deep breath as he looked at the huge soul ring. He closed his eyes and used his soul power to guide the soul ring. After rank 50, Wang Feng felt that his soul power was increasing at an extremely slow rate. Using the meteoric tier to compress and purify his soul power would become slower and slower. He didn't know how many ranks this 90,000-year soul ring could give him. When the ice dragon whale's soul ring landed on Wang Feng's body, a huge energy storm was suddenly released from Wang Feng's body. The energy within the soul ring surged into Wang Feng's body like a tsunami. Streaks of ferocious and terrifying consciousness roared furiously at Wang Feng from the soul ring. It was the ice dragon whale's consciousness, which was filled with extreme hatred and resentment. If one were to stand outside and watch, a huge projection of the ice dragon whale appeared from Wang Feng's body. It was drifting unpredictably. At this moment it was facing Wang Feng, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. It opened its bloody mouth and roared furiously, as if it wanted to eat Wang Feng. When the 4 soul beasts saw this scene, they couldn't take their eyes off him. There was worry in their eyes. Evidently, this was formed by the ice dragon whale's consciousness. A soul beast like the ice dragon whale was too strong. Its consciousness after death was far from what ordinary soul masters could withstand. It was a soul beast that was infinitely close to 100,000 years. Roar, roar, roar. The ice dragon whale's consciousness roared crazily at Wang Feng. Every roar seemed to be able to destroy a person's consciousness. Boss Feng will be fine, right? The blizzard crocodile was a little uneasy. He won't be. The ice dragon whale's consciousness roared furiously at the ice dragon whale's consciousness. However, it didn't have any effect. It was as if it only had Wang Feng in its eyes. No one else could feel it. End of chapter. Chapter 487. Boss Feng hasn't taught me how to sing yet, so I'm sure nothing will happen. The cowardly Kuan let out a soft roar, causing a cloud of smoke to appear in the air. Boss Feng's mysterious martial spirit is the key. The thunder spiritual fox looked at the 6 pairs of black wings on Wang Feng's back and said in a deep voice, Boss Feng used this martial spirit to deal with the consciousness of the ice dragon whale. Otherwise, with Boss Feng's intelligence, he would never do something meaningless. If Wang Feng was awake, he would definitely praise the thunder spirit fox. Qing Qing didn't say anything. She only spread her feathers and released a gentle aura that wrapped around Wang Feng. It seemed like she wanted to reduce the pressure on him. Qing's current strength was actually very strong. Her cultivation was around 40,000 years, which was weaker than the cowardly Kuan. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been captured by the ice dragon whale in the past 2 years. If she didn't want to explore the ice cave of extreme cold, she would still be outside. At this moment, as the ice dragon whale roared, a human figure slowly emerged from Wang Feng's body. This figure was 90% similar to Wang Feng. It had 6 pairs of black wings on its back, and it held a pitch-black demonic sword in its hand. Its long hair danced in the wind, and it had a majestic figure. It was the true form of the Dark Angel martial spirit. The moment the Dark Angel appeared, the ice dragon whale stopped roaring. It was like a mouse meeting a cat. The 4 beasts. Next, the mysterious Dark Angel waved its sword and shattered the ice dragon whale's figure into pieces. It opened its other hand and sucked. The consciousness of the ice dragon whale was sucked into its palm like a gust of wind. At the same time, the first pair of black wings behind Wang Feng suddenly lit up. The first blood pattern also lit up as if it was charged with energy. It was obvious that the first blood pattern had lit up because it had completely absorbed the ice dragon whale's soul consciousness. When the first blood pattern and the wings on Wang Feng's back lit up, the space around them seemed to freeze. Suddenly, the space around them seemed to have solidified. The 4 beasts suddenly froze. They seemed to have fallen into an endless rage and lost their minds. Even Qing's beautiful eyes were a little confused. "Get 100 meters away from me." At this moment, Wang Feng spoke slowly with his eyes closed. Hearing this, the 4 soul beasts forced themselves to push away. Only then did they heave a sigh of relief and look at Wang Feng in shock. At this moment, Wang Feng's surroundings seemed to have formed a mysterious aura similar to the demonic sovereign Kuan. Although the range was not large, the effect was extremely terrifying. All 5 of them were affected. That feeling was as if he had lost himself. Clearly, the Dark Angel martial soul had begun to truly awaken. However, even though Wang Feng could sense it clearly, his mind was completely immersed in absorbing the soul ring. The soul power contained within a soul ring that was close to 100,000-year soul ring was simply too enormous. If Wang Feng wanted to absorb such a soul ring, he wouldn't be able to withstand it with his current physique. Thankfully, the Dark Angel martial soul had absorbed the ice dragon whale's spiritual consciousness, and Wang Feng was able to control its enormous soul power. Most of the energy within the soul ring was channeled into the cauldron of heaven and earth, so that the cauldron could enter its true mature stage. At the same time, it could also speed up the refinement of the myriad spirit Ice Heart. With his current strength, it was unknown how long it would take to drive the cauldron of heaven and earth to refine the myriad spirit's Ice Heart. After all, this thing was a little exaggerated. Wang Feng didn't want to completely refine the myriad spirit's Ice Heart. He only wanted to refine a part of it so that he could ensure that he could absorb it. After refining the other part, it would become a little weaker. Wang Feng could place the myriad spirit's Ice Heart in the spirit cave of extreme frost to continue to maximize its potential. Furthermore, after refining a part of it, the myriad spirit's Ice Heart wouldn't be as strong, and he should be able to control it. In the future, the ice cave of extreme frost could be used as a base camp for Odontosuchus and the others. They could cultivate rapidly here. Absorbing all of the myriad spirit's Ice Heart in one go was like killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Wang Feng didn't want to do that. It was impossible to absorb all of it. This was because he would use the red lotus karmic fire to temper his sternum and brain later. He only needed a part of the special energy contained within the myriad spirit's Ice Heart. As the soul ring surged into the cauldron of heaven and earth, the cauldron of heaven and earth shone even brighter. As its owner, Wang Feng could clearly sense that the refining speed of the myriad spirit's Ice Heart had increased by a lot. The most important thing was that while the cauldron of heaven and earth was refining, it was also slowly changing. First, the cauldron's body became several times larger, and there were more patterns on its surface. Not only were there mountains, rivers, and plants, but there were also many creatures carved on it. It was as if it formed a painting of the Qingming riverside. He could even feel it moving. Although Wang Feng didn't open his eyes, he could clearly sense it. This was the sign of the cauldron of heaven and earth being complete. Just like the previous 4 forms, after obtaining the soul ring, it would become complete. After becoming complete, Wang Feng could clearly see a string of information in his sea of consciousness. In a month, the refining of the myriad spirits' ice heart will be completed. This information was automatically transmitted by the cauldron of heaven and earth. Most importantly, Wang Feng could control the degree of refinement. For example, Wang Feng could clearly sense that the myriad spirits' ice heart in the cauldron was slowly transforming into another pure energy ice crystal. It was like 2 prismatic crystals that revolved around the cauldron of heaven and earth. Refined 1/3. Wang Feng's thoughts move. This was because Wang Feng felt that 1/3 would be enough to temper his brain and skull. There might even be some left over. After giving the order, the cauldron of heaven and earth spun rapidly. Occasionally, it would emit bursts of light as the refining speed increased. Without the energy in the soul ring to complete the cauldron of heaven and earth, it might not even be possible to refine the myriad spirits' ice heart in 10 months, let alone a month. At the same time, Wang Feng used the remaining energy in the soul ring to temper his body. There was only about 30% of the energy left in the soul ring, and 70% was used to mature the cauldron of heaven and earth. However, even if it was only 30%, it was more than enough for Wang Feng to refine. The ice-cold soul power seeped into his limbs and bones. Finally, it entered the meteoric tear in his heart and compressed it into his own soul power. Just like that, the cauldron of heaven and earth slowly refined the myriad spirits' ice heart, while Wang Feng used the remaining energy in the soul ring to temper his body and cultivate his soul power. Unknowingly, 10 days had passed. The 4 soul beasts repaired the damaged spirit cavern of extreme cold while guarding Wang Feng. Qing naturally became the eldest sister of the 4 soul beasts. She also chatted with the 4 soul beasts about what had happened over the past 2 years. Sister Qing, I'm not bragging, but you didn't see how anxious Boss was when he heard about you. Odontosuchus flew in midair and flattered. Boss Feng couldn't wait to kill his way into the inner circle to find the ice dragon whale. You can see how much he cares about you. Qing Huang chuckled. Light flashed in her eyes as she smiled gently. If all of you were in the same situation as me, Master would do the same. Although Odontosuchus heard Qing's words, he could feel that she was even happier. End of chapter. Chapter 488. Now that we have eliminated the ice dragon whale, the 5 overlords of the inner circle will be ours in the future, right? At this moment, the Thunder Spiritual Fox suddenly asked, Boss Feng is one of the 5 overlords of the inner circle. The news hasn't spread out yet, but sooner or later, all the soul beasts in the inner circle will know about it. Brother Iron Fox, what are you trying to say? Odontosuchus glanced at the Thunder Spiritual Fox. Should we think of a name for Boss Feng? The Thunder Spiritual Fox said, after all, the 5 overlords are all extraordinary. We have to settle down here in the future, right? Without a good name, it won't be good if everyone comes to find trouble with us. A good name can deter the soul beast. Makes sense. Bing Jira nodded. Its huge body sat on the ground, spread its legs, and supported its head with its claws. Then what should we call it? I will go first. Odontosuchus raised one hand. Boss Feng likes to use a spear. How about Wind, Thunder Spear Lord? Isn't it super nice? This is the first human overlord in the extreme north. It doesn't sound nice. Bing Jira waved its hand and interrupted. Boss Feng has a pair of blood wings, and his fighting strength is amazing. How about Blood Devouring Wild Maple? If Wang Feng heard these nicknames now, he would have goosebumped. No, no, no. At this moment, the cowardly Kuan in the air said, Boss Feng's singing is very nice, and it can shake my soul. This is what he is best at, so it should be Soul Song Lord. What kind of names did you guys come up with? The Thunder Spiritual Fox couldn't help but cover its ears. It's too bad Boss Feng won't agree. Then say it. Odontasuchus, Bing Jira, and Cowardly Kuan all looked at the Thunder Spiritual Fox. I feel that in the future, Boss Feng will have more soul beasts under his command, the Thunder Spiritual Fox said with longing. Boss Feng, with a human body, can become the boss of countless soul beasts. He can make us soul beasts evolve and become stronger, and walk towards glory. In the future, he will create an unprecedented legend. How about Beast Emperor? In fact, the Thunder Spiritual Fox's idea wasn't wrong. The other three soul beasts thought about it carefully. Boss Feng is mysterious and special. Although he is a human, he can lead soul beasts, and give them unimaginable evolution and growth. In the future, he will change the environment of the soul beast. He would definitely have a bunch of loyal soul beasts as his subordinate. This, I'm afraid. Cowardly Kuan said in a low voice. The two people in the core area of the inner circle are both called emperors. Wouldn't this violate their taboo? Isn't this putting Boss Feng in the future? If we don't handle this well, we might attract the hatred of many soul beasts in the inner circle. When that happens, we'll be in trouble. Furthermore, Boss Feng is still a human. Humans and beasts are different. Many ancient and powerful soul beasts don't like humans. At this point, the cowardly Kuan stopped talking. Wang Feng's strength and mysteriousness were obvious to all. Actually, there is no point in saying all this. At this moment, Qing Qing shook her head. Master won't stay here for long. He is a human. Maybe he will leave the extreme north after he settles things here. He needs to return to human society. I have been by his side since I was young. I understand him. Qing Qing was right. She was the first soul beast that Wang Feng raised. In the beginning, she wasn't even a soul beast. She was just an ordinary bird. She slowly became a soul beast. After she gained intelligence, Qing Qing stayed by Wang Feng's side for the longest time. She had a deeper understanding of Wang Feng. Hearing this, the four soul beasts were stunned. They didn't think about this. They thought that Wang Feng would stay. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly opened his eyes. The energy undulations around him started to weaken. Wang Feng absorbed all of it into his body. Wang Feng's body started to glow. It was as if he was cultivating a divine skill. Then, he slowly returned to normal. Wang Feng opened his eyes. A few streaks of light flashed. Then, he calmed down. Soul power. Rank 53. The remaining 30% of energy allowed Wang Feng's soul power to increase by 3 ranks. After rank 50, it was indeed harder to increase one's soul power. Wang Feng had finally become a soul king. He was much stronger. His soul skills in the first 4 forms had been strengthened to varying degrees. His physique had also become stronger, and his soul power had also increased. If Wang Feng were to face those 2 rank 92 titled Douluo again, he would definitely be able to kill them with a single mind-severing strike. Even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. As long as they weren't rank 94 transcendent Douluo, they weren't much of a threat to Wang Feng. Even if they were transcendent Douluo, like the rank 95 ghost Douluo, Wang Feng wouldn't be afraid. They couldn't do anything to him. If he used the Pengu axe, even a transcendent Douluo might not be able to withstand it. In fact, the 5th form of the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth didn't increase Wang Feng's fighting strength by much. However, Wang Feng knew that the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth wasn't inferior to any other form. In fact, the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth might even be an opportunity for him to change. As for the specifics, Wang Feng would test them out later. After Wang Feng used the karmic fire of the Red Lotus to temper his brain and sternum, His body wouldn't become much stronger, but his cultivation speed would definitely soar. There were many other mysteries, but Wang Feng could only understand them after he finished tempering them. Apart from that, there was also the evolution of his dark angel martial soul. Wang Feng didn't have time to feel it yet, but he was sure that it had become much stronger. After tempering his body, Wang Feng settled the matters in the myriad Elephant Valley. Qing Qing and the other 4 fellows planned to set off for the city of Massacre. Boss Feng, you're finally awake. We're giving you a title. Odontasuchus flew over. As he spoke, he told Wang Feng the titles that the few of them had given him. After hearing this, Wang Feng was speechless. They're all terrible. Wind Lightning Spear Owner? Blood-Sucking Wild Maple? Soul Singer? Beast Emperor? Motherf ** Cur, what the hell is going on in these guys' heads? Boss Feng, Sister Qing said that you're about to leave, but you have to leave a title. Otaku Alligator chuckled. You should just pick one out of the 4. Otherwise, as one of the 5 overlords, Boss Feng, you have to have a resounding name. At this moment, Qing Qing suddenly said. How about Emperor Qing? Wang Feng. You're naming yourself, right? The name Emperor Qing might be cliché, but it suits you. What does it have to do with me? Wang Feng glanced at Qing Qing and found that she was looking at him with bright eyes. Emperor Qing is more suitable for you, Qing Qing. Wang Feng yawned. As for me, if you really want a title, I'll be called, Dr. Soul Beast. Qing Qing, the 4 fellows, why is this name so weird? Not to mention Odontasuchus and the other 3, even Qing Qing couldn't understand. But looking at Wang Feng's decisive tone, it would probably be hard to change it. Then, Wang Feng looked at the cauldron of heaven and earth that had been refined and waved his hand. 2 crystal edges flew out from the cauldron. One of them was still the myriad spirit Iceheart, but its power was much weaker now. The other was a colorless crystal edge. This was the pure energy formed by the cauldron of heaven and earth refining the myriad spirit Iceheart. The myriad spirit Iceheart was refined into the purest energy in the world. It could be absorbed by any living thing. Unlike the myriad spirit Iceheart, it couldn't be absorbed. Wang Feng turned this colorless crystal edge into a soul crystal. P.S. There are 4 or 5 more updates tonight. End of chapter. Chapter 489. Soul Crystal. Wang Feng didn't know if there were any similar energy crystals in the Douluo world. Theoretically speaking, although the Douluo world wasn't big, it was possible for such things to appear, just that they hadn't been discovered yet. This was because it wasn't impossible for such crystals to be formed naturally. However, Wang Feng knew that even if it was formed naturally, it wouldn't be better than the one refined by the cauldron of heaven and earth. Furthermore, it was refined from the 10,000 spirit Ice Heart. There definitely wouldn't be a second soul crystal like this in this world. Compared to the 10,000 spirit Ice Heart, this soul crystal was more orderly and beautiful, as if it had been carefully polished. Because it had been refined by the cauldron of heaven and earth, it didn't have as violent ice energy as the 10,000 spirit Ice Heart. On the contrary, it was very gentle, giving people the feeling that they wanted to hold it. Its beautiful shape was so beautiful that people couldn't bear to destroy it. A certain amount of time was needed to absorb this kind of soul crystal. The advantage was that it could be stored in a living creature's body and slowly absorbed for cultivation. The energy of the 10,000 spirit Ice Heart has weakened by a lot. Qing Qing blinked her eyes. It won't cause any harm to us? Master, how did you do it? They had experienced the strength of the 10,000 spirit Ice Heart. The moment the ice dragon whale took it out, they were all frozen and their life force rapidly decreased. Now that the 10,000 spirit Ice Heart was taken out from the small cauldron, it actually split into 2 crystal edges? Wang Feng smiled slightly. This 10,000 spirit Ice Heart is no longer dangerous. Now that this 10,000 spirit ice heart is no longer dangerous, I will put it back in the absolute cold ice cave. When the time comes, this place will still be the same. When the time comes, you can cultivate in this place. There are many natural treasures here, so your cultivation should increase very quickly. The Four Extremities Nature Manifestation Valley was a huge paradise in the extreme north, and its interior was extremely unusual. If soul beasts cultivated here for a long time, their cultivation would increase very quickly. Boss Feng, I have seen all these natural treasures. The Thunder Spiritual Fox shook its head. Although these treasures are very good, most of them aren't suitable for us to absorb. Many of them contain extremely strong cold poison. Once we consume too much of them, it will affect our foundation. This was indeed the case. The two immortal grade supreme treasures that Tang San had absorbed both contained extremely potent toxins, but Tang San just so happened to neutralize the toxins before using the ice fire yin-yang well to refine them. As a result, the toxins had reached a delicate balance, allowing him to absorb the medicinal power of the two immortal herbs. Otherwise, the ice dragon whale might be even stronger than it was now. That beast clearly understood this as well. It did not dare to carelessly consume these heavenly treasures. Otherwise, if it was accidentally poisoned, what would it do if it lost all of its cultivation of more than 90,000 years? What if he could never improve? Basically, it had consumed everything that could be consumed. There were many things that it could not use or was not sure about, so it would not consume them. This was one of the reasons why the ice dragon whale was able to attract so many soul beasts despite its notoriety. But what was left was basically poisonous. Apparently, the Thunder Spiritual Fox had already observed the situation beforehand. Don't worry, Wang Feng smiled. This was where the might of the cauldron of heaven and earth could be seen. Wang Feng would be able to use the cauldron of heaven and earth to refine these poisonous herbs and ice crystals that contain special energies into the purest soul crystals. Those poisons would naturally be turned into ashes. Wang Feng could guarantee that the strength of these four soul beasts would definitely increase rapidly. These soul crystals were refined by the cauldron of heaven and earth. There were no side effects, and they could even strengthen one's foundation. But with Wang Feng's current strength, it was not realistic to use the cauldron of heaven and earth to refine a large amount of them. It would take a lot of time, but it would not take long for Wang Feng to refine these four soul beasts. This is called a soul crystal. Wang Feng held the soul crystal in one hand and the myriad spirit ice heart in the other. He introduced, "When I leave, I will refine 4 of these heavenly treasures and give them to you. They contain the purest energy in the world. You will be able to absorb them easily without any poison." The colorless soul crystal seemed to be transparent and emitted a faint light. Once one stared at it, they would be immersed in it. They would be attracted by the incomparably pure energy. Treasure. This word appeared in the minds of the 4 soul beasts at the same time. As soul beasts, they were naturally very sensitive to the energy of heaven and earth. Almost instantly, the soul crystal attracted them. "Master, what about me?" When Qing Qing heard Wang Feng say that he would only refine 4, she could not help but pout. "Your bloodline has undergone a mutation. I will refine 1 for you alone," Wang Feng said. Qing Qing had followed him for 5 years after all. She had changed the most. Wang Feng was not sure how much her bloodline had changed. So he naturally had to give her special treatment. Wang Feng did not want to suddenly hear that Qing Qing was gone. He did not say that he was impartial. Furthermore, according to the differences between Odontosuchus and the other 3, Wang Feng had a follow-up plan. Upon hearing this, Qing Qing immediately chirped happily. Odontosuchus could not help but think to himself, "Boss Feng is only doting on you. Shen Bing, Iron Fox and Kuan Kuan, we big uncouth fellows, tsk tsk." Of course, Odontosuchus was just thinking about it. In fact, he knew why Wang Feng did this. Because Qing Huang'er's ability was very special. She had the effect of amplifying a group of soul beasts. She also had a strong fighting strength. When fighting with her, any soul beast would be stimulated and their fighting strength would soar. This was somewhat similar to Wang Feng's Golden Lotus, but the difference was huge. Qing Huang'er's Dark North Aura was similar to the demonic Emperor Kuan's Dark North Aura. Of course, it was limited to soul beasts. If it was a human, it would have the opposite effect. If a human soul master stepped into her aura, he would lose the will to fight. This was a very powerful ability. It was not inferior to the Dark North Aura of the demonic Emperor Kun. It was even stronger. Because after such a battle, the soul beast's potential would slowly be excavated and become stronger. It was a slow and benign improvement. Perhaps because she had been injected with the origin energy of the Golden Lotus too many times, Qing Huang'er also had this ability. There was a faint Golden Lotus imprint on her forehead. This was also the reason why Qing Huang'er could quickly gather a group of soul beasts when she came to the outer circle of the extreme north. Beauty was part of it. What was more special was that she had this ability. Otherwise, with the temperament of soul beasts, why would they follow a green bird for no reason? The ice dragon whale wanted to make Qing Huang'er submit to it because it knew that Qing Huang'er had this ability. Otherwise, the ice dragon whale was a dignified overlord-class soul beast. What kind of beautiful soul beast could it not want? Why was it so obsessed with Qing Huang'er? Among the 4 soul beasts, only the blizzard crocodile knew a little about Qing Huang'er. However, he had never stayed by her side, so he was not clear. He only knew that goddess Qing Huang'er had a mysterious ability that made many soul beasts follow her willingly. End of chapter. Chapter 490. In the past 10 days, the 4 soul beasts were willing to acknowledge Qing Huang'er as their big sister after understanding each other. Because, wasn't this the weakened Boss Feng? Boss Feng's golden flower had the ability to stimulate the potential of soul beasts, causing them to evolve and even mutate. And the effect was obvious. After a few months of training with Wang Feng, there would be obvious results. Qing Huang'er's special aura could stimulate the potential of soul beasts. Of course, the effect wasn't as abnormal as the Golden Lotus. But soul beasts had long lives. If they stayed with her for a long time, there would be a lot of changes. If they stayed with her for a long time, 5 to 10 years, their potential would reach a limit and they might even evolve and mutate. Most importantly, Qing Huang'er's strength was also very strong. She wasn't just a tool bird. This was the most powerful thing. After Wang Feng learned about Qing's special ability, he wasn't too surprised. After Qing became a 100,000-year soul beast, she would form a special domain. At that time, she would be even stronger. Although it was far from being comparable to the Golden Lotus, it was still exaggerated enough. Therefore, Odontasuchus and the others understood Wang Feng's actions. "Oh right, Boss Feng." At this moment, the Ice Kira suddenly pulled out a string of glowing things from its back and said, "When you were absorbing the soul ring, the Thunder Spirit Fox and I turned the corpse of the Ice Dragon Whale into ashes. Then we found this. It should be a soul bone. You should need it." Soul bone. Wang Feng was stunned. Only then did he remember that the Ice Dragon Whale was close to 100,000-year soul beast. The probability of it dropping a soul bone was very high. "It's a pity that it's only a 90,000-year soul bone," Wang Fengxin thought to himself. It was a torso bone. To be precise, it was a sternum. It was connected to the spine and emitted an icy blue luster. 100,000-year soul bone was very different from a 90,000-year soul bone. Just the soul skill alone was one more. It was also enhanced in other aspects. But right at this moment, Wang Feng suddenly had a shocking thought. Wang Feng looked at the heaven and earth cauldron in his hand and was stunned. "Boss Feng, are you not going to absorb this soul bone?" Odontasuchus asked. Wang Feng took a deep breath and activated his soul power again to make the heaven and earth cauldron bigger. Shunbing, throw this soul bone in, Wang Feng said slowly. Shunbing was stunned for a moment before she threw the torso bone into the cauldron of heaven and earth. Boss Feng, what are you trying to do? The Thunder Spiritual Fox asked curiously. Wang Feng smiled and said, You'll know soon enough. As he spoke, Wang Feng retrieved another torso bone from his soul tool. That was right. It really was the torso bone of the blood-winged dragon beetle. As this torso bone was only 60,000 years old, Wang Feng had never wanted to use it. Then now. It's time to witness a miracle. Wang Feng's eyes sparkled. Then, he threw the torso bone into the cauldron. Let me see, cauldron of heaven and earth, your ability is not limited to this. In primordial legends, the cauldron of heaven and earth had many uses. It could even increase the quality of treasures and divine weapons. Now that the cauldron of heaven and earth was formed by his martial spirit, perhaps it would also have the same ability? Of course, Wang Feng did not think that refining alone could improve the quality. Therefore, Wang Feng threw in the other torso bone to see if it could fuse together. It would become a true 100,000-year soul bone. Refine. With a thought, the cauldron of heaven and earth started to spin crazily. The patterns on the surface of the cauldron started to float. Light exploded from the cauldron of heaven and earth. Wang Fengxin was actually a little nervous. This feeling was probably similar to when he was playing mobile games in his previous life and had 10 consecutive draws. Cauldron of heaven and earth, it's all up to you now. Don't disappoint me. If you can't fuse them together, it'll be GG. After all, these two soul bones were not simple. Especially the ice dragon whale's soul bone. It was very rare. It was almost impossible to find another one like it. The four fellows also opened their eyes wide. They had never seen such a situation before. Two soul bones fusing together? How was this possible? After a few days, Wang Feng did not even blink. The soul power in his body flowed rapidly. However, with the help of the soul crystals, Wang Feng continued to refine and fuse them together. Finally, on the 10th day, the cauldron of heaven and earth finally stopped. A scarlet light shone from the cauldron. Red represented a 100,000-year soul bone. Of course, a soul bone was different. However, Wang Feng could feel that the cauldron of heaven and earth contained an extremely powerful soul bone. It's out. Wang Feng laughed heartily. It was really exciting. No wonder so many people were not interested in the game itself. They just liked to draw. It was probably the joy of getting something out. With a thought, the soul bone in the cauldron of heaven and earth finally appeared in front of Wang Feng. It was also a torso bone. At this moment, it was emitting a purplish-red light, like a breastplate. 100,000-year soul bone, Odontosuchus rubbed his sore eyes. Over 90,000 years and 100,000 years are two different concepts. They were not unfamiliar with soul bones. Seeing this scene, they were simply shocked. They could not understand it at all. How did this happen? How did the two soul bones fuse together? The four soul beasts looked at the cauldron of heaven and earth in disbelief. What kind of divine item is this? Martial soul? How is this possible? How can a human's martial soul be so powerful? Big Boss Feng is too awesome. Wang Feng took the soul bone. The purplish-red soul bone was emitting a heart-palpitating light. The fusion of the blood-winged dragon beetle and the mountain sea ice dragon whale's torso bone. What should I call it? Blood-devouring ice dragon whale's torso bone? Wang Feng stroked it gently and was a little excited. I didn't expect the cauldron of heaven and earth to have such an ability. Does this mean that I can fuse all kinds of soul bones in the future? It might not even be limited to soul bones. However, it was indeed time-consuming and consumed soul power. It might be because of the fusion of a 100,000-year soul bone. However, the more Wang Feng thought about it, the more he felt the power of the cauldron of heaven and earth. The cauldron of heaven and earth did not seem to have any enhancement to him. However, it indirectly helped him become stronger. Not only could it help him, but it could also help the soul beasts around him. By the way, I haven't tried my 5th soul skill? In the past 20 days, 10 days to absorb the soul ring and 10 days to fuse the soul bone, Wang Feng recalled that he had almost neglected his 5th soul skill. I wonder what the soul skill of the cauldron of heaven and earth is? All of you, stand still. I'm going to try my 5th soul skill. Wang Feng sensed the cauldron of heaven and earth and knew what the 5th soul skill was. However, he was shocked. This was because the soul skill of the cauldron of heaven and earth seemed to be a little strong. Qing Qing brought Shinbing, the iron fox, and Odontosuchus to the back of the cowardly Kuan. Wang Feng focused and used his soul power to drive the cauldron of heaven and earth. Suddenly, Wang Feng felt that more than half of his soul power was sucked away. Following that, the cauldron of heaven and earth spun and emitted an intense light that landed on their bodies. Almost instantly, Wang Feng felt that his soul power was gone. End of chapter. Chapter 491. Damn it, this soul skill. Wang Fengxin was shocked. He was at rank 53, and his soul power had been drained by the 5 of them? Normally, the more powerful a soul skill was, the more powerful it would be. As the light fell, all of a sudden, the 4 of them became smaller at a visible speed. Furthermore, they were degenerating. Qing Qing directly turned into an ordinary big green bird. The otaku crocodile's wings were gone. It fell with a plop and became smaller. The ice Kira was the most miserable. It was more than 10 meters tall, but it had shrunk by half. Even the cowardly Kuan had shrunk by half. The mysterious patterns on its body had also disappeared. Degeneration? Wang Feng swallowed his saliva. If it's used on a soul master, it will degenerate his martial soul? However, it won't last for long. It won't last for more than a minute. However, this was already exaggerated enough. The 5 of them let out childish cries. Evidently, they weren't used to it. It was as if an adult had been reborn into a teenager's body. After a minute, the 5 of them returned to their original state. Wow, Boss Feng, what's this move? I felt like I was breastfeeding. Odontosuchus cried out. Wang Feng laughed and said, "This soul skill is called the divine light of heaven and earth. It can degenerate all of you. It can only last for a minute." This was a very powerful ability. Just think about it, if a ray of universal divine light landed on the clear sky hammer, would the clear sky hammer, which was known as the strongest tool spirit in the continent, still be able to unleash its full power? A soul master's soul skills were determined by their martial souls. Once the quality of their martial souls decreased, they might not be able to unleash their soul skills. It was equivalent to being sealed. Even if they were forced to unleash their power, their strength would be greatly reduced. Evidently, this soul skill was related to the cauldron of heaven and earth. It didn't have much to do with the ice dragon whale's soul rings. It was probably because the cauldron of heaven and earth could refine everything. The ice-type energy absorbed from the ice dragon whale's soul rings was directly refined into pure energy and absorbed. This was why the cauldron of heaven and earth didn't use the ice dragon whale's soul rings to produce soul skills related to the ice dragon whale. The soul skills produced were only related to the cauldron of heaven and earth. However, it required a lot of soul power. At critical moments, it could be very useful. Divine light of heaven and earth. It seems like the cauldron of heaven and earth has given me enough surprises. Wang Feng smiled. With his current abilities, Wang Feng could kill those 2 rank 92 titled Douluo without suffering any injuries. With this divine light of heaven and earth. Although it would consume a large amount of soul power and might even drain him dry, it was not a problem for Wang Feng. However, there was a problem with this soul skill. The hit rate of this soul skill wasn't 100%. When the divine light of universe was unleashed, it was possible to dodge it. If he was discovered, it would be equivalent to exhausting a huge amount of soul force for nothing. He was not invincible. Therefore, in a real battle, it still depended on how it was used. If the 2 rank 92 titled Douluo had dodged, Wang Feng would have expended more than half of his soul power, and he would have been at a disadvantage. Even if he used the Black Lotus to recover, it would still take some time. This was the same logic as the Red Lotus Hellfire. Both could be dodged. It wasn't an absolute hit. After all, no matter how powerful a move was, it had to hit its target first. For example, the Tempest Godly Spear was unleashed very quickly. Once it was unleashed, it was almost impossible to dodge. The Pangu Axe was even more impressive. Once it locked onto its target, it would definitely hit. However, the few soul beasts were stunned at this moment. This was the first time they had heard of such a magical soul skill. Furthermore, the effects of the divine light of universe were not limited to this. Once it degenerated, it would be very difficult for the soul beast to adapt. If they were hit in battle, their condition would deteriorate rapidly, and they would be easily defeated. There's such a soul skill? The Thunder Spiritual Fox couldn't help but look at the cauldron of universe. This soul skill seemed to be extraordinarily strong. In fact, even among human soul masters, this soul skill was probably one of a kind, let alone soul beasts. Alright, remember this. I'll refine 4 soul crystals for all of you first. I, on the other hand, still need to cultivate here. Wang Feng needed to condense his brain and sternum in the remaining time before absorbing the bloodthirsty ice dragon whale's skeleton. His abilities had reached a peak. Hearing Wang Feng's words, the 4 of them quickly gathered all kinds of treasures in the ice cave of absolute frost. They wanted ice-type herbs, ice crystals, absolute frost stalactites, and so on. There were many of them in the ice cave of absolute frost. It took Wang Feng around 10 days to refine the materials into 4 soul crystals and give them to the 4 cultivators. It should be enough for them to cultivate for a while. As for Qing, after Wang Feng refined the ice crystals, he fused the energy of the golden lotus into the soul crystals to form a special golden soul crystal for Qing to consume. Because Qing already had some of the golden lotus abilities, using this method should be able to strengthen her to the greatest extent. This kind of golden soul crystal was not as pure as the colorless soul crystal, and was extremely troublesome to absorb. If Odontosuchus and the others were to consume this kind of golden soul crystal, the absorption would be very slow. The most important thing was that it was too troublesome to form a golden soul crystal. This soul crystal was formed from all kinds of treasures in the ice cave of absolute frost. It contained an extremely pure and huge amount of energy. In order to form a golden soul crystal, Wang Feng had to constantly activate the power of the golden lotus and fuse it with the energy of the soul crystal. And depending on the concentration, the time required would vary. The golden soul crystal that Wang Feng created for Qing took him half a month to barely turn the colorless soul crystal into a pale golden soul crystal. This was even more time-consuming than refining it. After doing all this, Wang Feng did not let the 4 of them directly cultivate in the ice cave of absolute frost. Instead, he let them stay in the other 3 places in the Myriad Elephant Valley: the secluded spirit cave of absolute frost, the purple forest of absolute frost, and the azure platform of absolute frost. These 3 places were similar to the ice cave of absolute frost. The cowardly Kuan was in the secluded spirit cave of absolute frost. This was because the secluded spirit cave of absolute frost leaned towards darkness and ice. The demonic Emperor Kuan was a darkness and ice-type soul beast. From the word demon, one could tell. Not to mention, the cowardly Kuan's dark aura leaned towards darkness. The blizzard crocodile was naturally in the azure platform of absolute frost. It was a huge green platform that contained a terrifying icy wind. It was suitable for the wind and ice types, and was suitable for Odontosuchus's windwing blizzard crocodile. Finally, the thunder spirit fox was naturally in the purple forest of absolute frost. The pure purple lightning forest was the most comfortable environment for the thunder spirit fox to cultivate in. The ice Kira was in the ice cave of absolute frost, an environment suitable for pure ice-type cultivation. It had to be said that the 4 places in the myriad Elephant Valley were simply perfect for the 4 of them. Their luck was so good that it could explode. And Ching Ching was even more amazing. End of chapter. Chapter 492. She was cultivating in the center of the Nature Manifestation Valley, which was also where the 4 forbidden lands intersected. This was because this special forbidden land was filled with all kinds of energy and aura. It was very suitable for Ching Ching to cultivate. It was very magical. Perhaps it was because Ching Ching had a part of the Golden Lotus, which caused her to evolve. It could also be because of her bloodline. Wang Feng guessed that the other 3 forbidden lands should have items similar to the myriad spirit Iceheart. Of course, they could also be naturally formed. Wang Feng didn't plan to search these 3 forbidden lands. These 3 places were very dangerous. They weren't inferior to the spirit cave of extreme frost. In fact, they were even more dangerous. Even the ice dragon whale didn't dare to enter. Wang Feng wanted to be more cautious. Cowardly Kuan, Odontosuchus, and the Iron Fox were all arranged by Wang Feng to cultivate at the edge of these forbidden lands. They didn't go too deep. The 3 of them didn't dare to go too deep. After arranging everything, Wang Feng started to temper his brain and sternum. Because Wang Feng already had experience and the soul crystal formed from the myriad spirit Iceheart, as well as the fact that Wang Feng was much stronger than when he was in the Icefire Yin-Yang well, the process of refining with the Red Lotus Karmic Fire was very fast. His sternum was the fastest. His brain was more troublesome. It took the longest time. Fortunately, he had the soul crystal to support him. As he was a little worried that the torso bone would affect the various organs and blood vessels in his sternum, Wang Feng was tempering his sternum. After tempering, he would absorb the soul bone. When Wang Feng was tempering his sternum, he could vaguely see many black spots of light disappearing from his sternum. It was a little illusory. He didn't know if it was because of his karma. The process was very painful. Fortunately, Wang Feng had already gotten used to it. This pain wasn't just physical, but also spiritual. It was much more painful than Wang Feng imagined. However, the black-banded spiritual skull was very useful at this time. It reduced the pain Wang Feng's spiritual soul was suffering. It was indeed a skull produced by the system. It had indirectly helped Wang Feng many times. The sternum wasn't just the sternum. It also contained the organs within. It was the most troublesome part of the body after the brain. Fortunately, the problem Wang Feng was worried about didn't happen. The meteoric tear in his heart wasn't burned by the Red Lotus Karmic Fire. However, after completing the tempering of his heart, Wang Feng seemed to be able to clearly perceive the situation of the meteoric tear. In other words, he could make the meteoric tear move slightly, instead of passively accepting the energy of the meteoric tear every time. The benefit was that his cultivation speed had increased by another step, although he couldn't drive the energy in the meteoric tear. Wang Feng estimated that his strength was still far from enough. If he wanted to truly use the meteoric tear, he still had a long way to go. After the various organs around the sternum were completely refined, they seemed to emit a lustrous glow through the skin. His sternum was like ivory and white jade. It took Wang Feng less than 10 days to refine his sternum. As for the brain, it took Wang Feng 15 days. The position of the brain was relatively more troublesome. During the tempering process, Wang Feng felt as if his head was no longer his own. The pain was as if countless needles were piercing his head. His mind was still in great pain. This was the most painful tempering of his entire body. If it wasn't for Wang Feng's firm willpower, he wouldn't have been able to withstand it. However, his brain didn't consume much energy from the soul crystals. On the contrary, his sternum consumed a lot of soul crystals. From afar, Wang Feng's entire body was burning with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. However, since only his head was left, the area below his head was immune to the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. His brain was being burned and distorted in different places. Dense black spots were burning on Wang Feng's head before they were annihilated into nothingness. Because of this, Wang Feng's face slowly underwent a subtle change. He couldn't be described as handsome anymore. After Wang Feng's physique had improved, he was already very handsome. However, he had gained a kind of charm. This kind of charm seemed to be able to reach the top. It was the kind of shock one would feel when one saw nature. It made one feel as if there was such a scenery in the world. It was that kind of feeling. Wang Feng's current appearance gave people such a feeling. It was as if he had merged with the heavens and earth. It made people sigh. This world was actually like this. However, Wang Feng's face had indeed undergone a subtle change. He was definitely more handsome, but his temperament had also changed greatly. When Wang Feng opened his eyes, the energy of the heavens and earth rushed toward Wang Feng's body in a frenzy. It was as if they were trying to outdo each other, fearing that they would be too slow. I've completed the tempering. My current body seems to be quite powerful? Wang Feng took a deep breath. Closing his eyes, he seemed to be able to feel the rhythm of the heavens and earth. His perception had improved tremendously. His physique might not be much stronger, but it was full of tenacity. It was like nature, no matter how you destroyed it, it would recover. The most important thing was that the increase in cultivation speed was unimaginably fast for Wang Feng. Just by standing here, doing nothing, not even meditating, the energy of the heavens and earth gathered crazily toward his body. It was like countless disaster victims rushing to enter a new house. Very strong. Taking a light breath, it was like a whale sucking in water. The energy surged. At this speed, at least before rank 90, even if Wang Feng compressed his soul power, he would still be several times faster than most soul masters. This was very terrifying. And his brain. Wang Feng felt that his brain was incomparably clear now. It was as if a stone weighing tens of thousands of kilograms had been removed from his head. Everything was very easy. Wang Feng could even recall the bits and pieces of his previous life from his birth to his transmigration. The memory was incomparably clear. It was as if he had entered an extremely mysterious state. At this moment, Wang Feng felt that his thoughts were incomparably clear. Is this the state where there is no karma in my body? Wang Feng looked at his hands. They were one. His eyes glowed and shot out rays of light. It was as if he could see through his skin and see his bones that were crystal clear like jade. His eyes seemed to have changed. They were even brighter than the real stars. Fortunately, there were no living creatures nearby. Otherwise, with just Wang Feng's current eyes, even soul beasts would be instantly attracted. After Wang Feng saw his situation through the ice mirror, he couldn't help but sigh. How can I go out and meet people like this? Do I still have to wear cosmetic contact lenses? Because it's too eye-catching. Even if I wear a mask, this pair of eyes is too alluring. Wang Feng couldn't help but say. His current body was truly the body of a pure bright spirit god, without any impurities. Even among those cultivators, he was a 1 in 10,000 peerless cultivation genius. With this kind of body, no matter what he cultivated, there was almost no bottleneck. Any great Tao in front of him could be easily stepped on. To put it in a cliché, I, Wang Feng, now have the disposition of a great emperor, right? Wang Feng couldn't help but laugh. Unfortunately, this red lotus karmic fire didn't burn my thoughts. I still like big things, I still like to act cool. End of chapter. Chapter 493. In fact, sometimes Wang Feng felt that it was quite magical. From the perspective of the Red Lotus karmic fire, it was actually in an extremely opposite state to the Dark Angel Martial Soul. As long as he was possessed by the Dark Angel Martial Soul, it was as if he had billions of karma on his body. Of course, it wasn't that exaggerated, because the Dark Angel Martial Soul had yet to fully evolve. It was so contradictory, but there was no conflict. Wang Feng had also tried the ability of the Dark Angel Martial Soul's first evolution. The first pair of black wings on his back seemed to have been activated and emitted an intense light that was brighter than the other 5 pairs. The first blood pattern on his body also lit up. It could release a strange aura within 100 meters of his body. It was similar to an aura, but it wasn't a domain. Because it could be resisted. In this aura, all living beings would fall into a state of rage and anger. At the same time, the life force of all living beings in the aura would be crazily absorbed by his Dark Angel Martial Soul. In the end, they would die. It was a very evil ability. Even the upright Wang Feng didn't want to use it. He could only use it as a trump card. After his entire body was tempered with the Red Lotus, Wang Feng absorbed the torso bone. This time, he absorbed it very quickly. In less than 3 days, he succeeded. After absorbing the torso bone, Wang Feng's physical fitness improved greatly. This improvement was comprehensive. After all, it was 100,000-year soul bone. At the same time, he had 2 more soul skills. The first was a sealing-type soul skill, similar to the ice dragon whale's myriad spirit ice heart. It was a very powerful sealing soul skill that could prevent the myriad spirit ice heart from emitting energy. Wang Feng directly named it Spirit Seal. It could lock onto an opponent and freeze them. This kind of ice seal was an all-round ice seal. It could even seal one's consciousness. However, it could only seal one person. Furthermore, depending on the difference in soul power, the duration would be greatly reduced. The second soul skill complemented the first one. It was similar to the effect of blood devouring. It released countless bloodlines and crazily absorbed the soul power of the frozen enemy. The soul skill attached to the soul bone was naturally extremely strong. Compared to the blood-devouring effect of the soul-devouring blood wings, it was even purer. According to Wang Feng's estimation, even a soul sage would be sucked dry in 10 seconds. However, it needed to be frozen before it could be used. It was a relatively special soul skill combo that required the Spirit Seal soul skill. After tidying up, Wang Feng had already spent 3 months in the 4 Absolutes Myriad Elephant Valley. It had been a little more than 2 years. Wang Feng also officially turned 16. It's time to go to the capital of slaughter. Wang Feng sighed softly. For Wang Feng, these 2 years of bitter cultivation in the land of the extreme north was an earth-shaking change. He counted them carefully. He used his spiritual power to control objects, created his own absolute wind and thunder spear, subdued Odontosuchus and the other 3, and found Ching Ching. After that, he killed the ice dragon whale and obtained a 90,000-year soul ring. Then, his 5th form, universe manifestation, obtained and refined the myriad spirit ice heart. After that, he refined the soul ring, absorbed the consciousness and soul of the ice dragon whale, evolved the abilities of the Dark Angel Martial Soul, refined the soul crystal, and fused with the soul bone. There was no doubt that he would become even more powerful. Wang Feng didn't even know how strong he was now. Wang Feng was confident that he could beat a rank 95 transcendent Douluo. However, he didn't know what was more advanced. Think. Absolute God of wind and thunder, cauldron of heaven and earth, 90,000-year soul ring, myriad spirit ice heart, karmic fire body tempering, 100,000-year soul bone. How powerful could these make a person? Most importantly, the Nature Manifestation Valley was one of the 4 absolute. It was a true treasure land. Right now, the 4 of them, plus Ching Ching, were cultivating here. They would definitely become powerful in the future. When they met again, Wang Feng knew that these 5 fellows would also undergo earth-shattering changes. If Wang Feng ranked the results of his cultivation in the past 2 years in order, then it was inevitable. It was like this. Universe Cauldron Karmic Fire Body Tempering 4 Guys 4 Absolutes Myriad Elephant Valley Myriad Spirit Iceheart 100,000 Year Soul Bone Absolute Wind and Thunder Soul Ring. Of course, it was only the results, not the cause and effect. If there was a cause and effect, if Wang Feng didn't comprehend the Absolute Wind and Thunder Soul Ring, it was almost impossible for the following things to happen. Just like that, Wang Feng bid farewell to the 5 guys who were still cultivating and walked out of the extreme north. He, the newly appointed professor of soul beasts and one of the 5 overlords of the inner circle of the extreme north, left the extreme north just like that. He was going to the capital of slaughter. At the same time, in another corner of the world, Lil 3, I didn't expect you to awaken the blue-silver Emperor Martial Soul. Tang Hao looked at Tang San, whose appearance had changed greatly in front of him, with a complicated expression. After more than 2 years, Tang San's appearance had also undergone a huge change. He had truly become a handsome man. His soul power had also reached level 52. Under Tang Hao's guidance, he had even completely learned the disorder-splitting wind hammer technique and could use 81 hammer strikes. His strength had undergone an incomparably huge change. Tang San was a little silent. He only nodded slightly. Unknowingly, more than 2 years had passed. Dad, have you heard from Bro Feng in the past 2 years? Tang San asked in a low voice. In the past 2 years, Tang Hao only taught him the direction of cultivation. Most of the time, he was cultivating by himself, and Tang Hao would come and test him later. Tang Hao's eyes narrowed slightly. He seemed to hesitate for a while, then shook his head and said, I don't want to lie to you, Lil San. In the past 2 years, I've been looking everywhere for news of that child, Lin Feng, but I haven't found any. How can that be? Tang San muttered, no news at all? Were there any masked, mysterious and powerful people on the continent? If there is, then it's very likely that it's Bro Feng. Tang Hao was speechless. Lil San seems to know a lot about Lin Feng. Tang Hao could not help but sigh in his heart. He actually had such a speculation. However, it did make sense. Tang Hao could not help but think of the boy who fought against 2 titled Douluo in the Pontiff's palace more than 2 hours ago. Every time he thought of that, Tang Hao could not help but sigh. In fact, Tang Hao was not too sure whether Wang Feng was still alive or not. In the past 2 years, other than teaching Tang San cultivation, Tang Hao had never heard of the search for Wang Feng. He was not the only one. Many forces were secretly searching for Wang Feng. For example, the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile Sect, the royal family of the Star Luo Empire, a certain family clan, and 2 people who were traveling together. However, there was really no news of Wang Feng. Very few soul masters entered the extreme north where Wang Feng lived. Even if there were, they rarely encountered Wang Feng. Moreover, after Wang Feng subdued his 4 underlings, he cultivated day and night non-stop, causing a terrifying commotion. Ordinary soul masters could sense it from afar and did not even dare to get close. How could they see Wang Feng? They only thought that some soul beasts were fighting. Many people believed that Wang Feng was still alive. However, with Wang Feng's ability, if he was still alive, it was impossible for him to be unknown. Currently, there was no news of Wang Feng in the outside world. That's not the case. Tang Hao was silent for a moment, but he still shook his head. Hearing that, Tang San suddenly clenched his hands tightly. I don't believe it. I don't want Bro Feng to be gone just like that. We promised to meet in 5 years. I've become so strong now, but I haven't defeated you yet. Bro Feng, you can't be gone just like that. Chapter 494. Tang Hao looked at his son and did not know what to say for a moment. After all, they had grown up together. To a certain extent, the relationship between the two of them was much closer than that of his father. If Lin Feng had not helped him in the pontiff's palace, his current situation would have been even worse. He might not have been able to walk out alive. All right, Lil-san, I won't give up on finding Lin Feng. Tang Hao coughed twice. Now, I'm going to bring you to another place. The special training is over, and your martial soul has evolved. With your current strength, you need to obtain the true essence of killing intent in battle to be considered complete. Tang San let go of his hand and nodded lightly. Dad, where are we going? Follow me. It's time to leave this place. Tang Hao brought Tang San out of the forest where he had lived for 2 years and the waterfall. At the same time, Wang Feng, who had come from the extreme north, put on a new mask and a moon-white robe that was spotless. After walking out of the far north, Wang Feng still felt a little uncomfortable because the temperature in the far north was too low. Suddenly coming out of that kind of environment, he felt as if he had entered a furnace. Fortunately, with Wang Feng's current body, he adapted very quickly. Because Wang Feng did not know the location of the capital of massacres, he could only disguise himself and ask around. In the end, Wang Feng heard about the entrance to the capital of massacres from a down-and-out beggar in an unknown small city. According to the beggar's description, the capital of massacres was not called the capital of massacres, but the land of death. Basically, no soul master could come out alive from there. Even if they could, they would become a cripple. Just like that beggar. It was somewhat different from Wang Feng's impression of the capital of massacres because the beggar's soul power had been deprived, and he could not cultivate. The beggar also said that he was once a soul emperor, but because he accidentally entered the capital of massacres, he was crippled by a mysterious terror knight at the entrance before he could completely enter. The entrance was located in a nameless small town. It could also be some other location. Whether one could find it or not required a certain amount of luck. However, Wang Feng quickly found the nameless small town. It was actually quite easy to find. With Wang Feng's current perception, he was extremely sensitive to all kinds of auras. Often, when one entered a city, one would be able to feel the atmosphere of the city. The entrance to the city of massacre was naturally not simple. This nameless town gave off an eerie feeling the moment they arrived. Everyone's eyes were cold, as if they were going to eat someone alive. If they were timid, they would have run away in fright. Among them, the place with the densest eerie aura was a tavern in the small town. Wang Feng sensed it clearly and directly walked in. Creak. The door of the tavern was like an old wooden door. Wang Feng gently pushed it open, and a bone-chilling sharp sound came out. All of the soul cultivators in the tavern turned to look at Wang Feng. Although Wang Feng's current outfit was disguised, it was still very eye-catching. He wore a moon-white robe and a white mask that completely covered his eyes. He looked like a faceless person. That's right, in these days, Wang Feng had been relying purely on his body's perception of the world to easily travel. Right now, Wang Feng's eyes weren't even as useful as his body's perception of the world. This was the power of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Of course, his eyes were still very useful. In fact, Wang Feng already had a clear understanding of all the soul cultivators in the tavern before he even entered. He even knew their strength, how many people there were, their age, their strength, and the contents of their whispered conversations. He was completely aware of all of this. Most of the soul cultivators in the tavern had cold expressions. Even if they whispered occasionally, it was very soft. The entire tavern was very quiet. But Wang Feng could clearly feel that everyone here had at least dozens of lives in their hand. If it was in his previous life, they would be naked murderous maniacs. The killing intent was very strong. At this moment, a waiter walked over. His clothes were like the tuxedo Wang Feng had seen in his previous life. "Excuse me, how can I help you?" the waiter asked indifferently. Although his words were very formal, his tone was extremely calm and there was no hint of respect. Wang Feng didn't beat around the bush and replied, "Where is the entrance?" Simple and straightforward, he went straight to the point. Hearing this, the waiter's expression changed slightly. He carefully sized up Wang Feng and didn't say anything. At this moment, the gazes of the soul cultivators in the tavern changed. "Another one who wants to go in and die," a soul cultivator whispered with a smile. Obviously, they also knew about the city of massacre. They were no longer surprised by this situation. Soon, the waiter came in front of Wang Feng with a glass of wine and said, "Drink it." This wine was scarlet and emitted a faint fishy smell. It was unknown what it was made of. Wang Feng smelled it slightly and knew that it should be blood. It wasn't ordinary blood, but blood formed by mixing many kinds of human blood. The waiter's meaning was very clear. He needed to drink this special wine to be qualified to enter the city of massacre. Thinking of this, Wang Feng's mind suddenly moved. The biggest characteristic of the city of massacre was that soul cultivators who entered couldn't use soul skills. It was equivalent to being sealed. It seemed that they could only rely on their physical fitness to fight. Without soul power, the combat strength of most soul cultivators would rapidly decline. Then, could the situation in the city of massacre be related to this glass of wine? Drinking this wine and entering the city of massacre would have such an effect? This thought flashed through his mind. Wang Feng felt that it shouldn't be possible. This was probably just a test. "If you don't want to drink it, just tell me where the entrance is," Wang Feng replied. He didn't believe in these **T rules. The city of massacre was a place without rules. You can do whatever you want. Moreover, why would Wang Feng, who pursued delicious food, drink this kind of thing? Even in the extreme north, Wang Feng ate self-made ice cream or all kinds of delicious fruit juices. He also ate small animals that lived in the outer circle. The waiter, the rest of the soul cultivators roared with laughter. "Little turtle, you dare to come to such a place when your hair is not even fully grown? You don't even dare to drink a glass of human blood. Hurry up and go back to play with mud." The soul cultivator who chuckled just now couldn't help but laugh loudly. The rest of the soul cultivators also pointed at Wang Feng and laughed. Their laughter seemed to be venting the oppressive atmosphere. Their faces were incomparably hateful, like a mob that was about to commit violence. But at the next moment, Wang Feng didn't move at all. Two cold lights flashed out from an unknown part of his body. Swish, swish, swish. These cold lights seemed to have their own consciousness. With a speed that could cut through the air, they instantly slashed the necks of several soul cultivators. In the waiter's line of sight, he only saw a few cold lights flashing in the air. The soul cultivator who laughed at him died in an instant. Before he died, his eyes were still wide open, and the mocking smile on his face had not disappeared. He fell to the ground with a bang. End of this chapter. Chapter 495. The waiter sucked in a breath of cold air. There were no soul power undulations. These soul masters were all ferocious thugs. They were very strong and were at least rank 40. Some of them were even rank 50 soul kings. How could they be killed so easily? The white-robed man didn't even move an inch. It only took him 2 seconds. Soon enough, the waiter saw what the cold light was. It was 2 sharp blades that were slowly intertwined. At this moment, they were floating quietly beside the white-robed man. They were emitting a strange aura. Many of the remaining soul masters in the tavern fell silent and swallowed their saliva one after another. How did he do that? The white-robed man didn't even move an inch. Even his soul power undulations were very weak. How did he do that? Without making a single sound, all of these soul cultivators were killed. It was dazzling, cool, and ferocious. It was impossible to guard against. This was the mysterious underworld Spike. He was using his mind to control objects. Wang Feng hadn't stopped cultivating for the past 2 years. He had no choice. Wang Feng had been trying his best to cultivate this dazzling method of killing enemies. He could only control small objects formed by the mysterious underworld spike at the start. Now, he could control these sharp blades that were about 40 centimeters long. Wang Feng could control them freely now. He could even kill enemies. Especially after the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, Wang Feng's soul power had been greatly enhanced. Wang Feng wasn't sure how much it had been enhanced. However, he was improving rapidly when he used the mysterious underworld spike to kill enemies. Wang Feng's spiritual intent was enough to make these 2 sharp blades stronger than when he threw them out. It was similar to using a real sword to kill enemies. Wang Feng didn't have to do anything to deal with weak enemies in the future. Wang Feng's method of using spiritual power to control the weapon to kill people could only be controlled within a range of 30 meters around him. If it was too far away, it would not work at all. Wang Feng felt that his spiritual power was very strong, but it wasn't easy to control. Simply put, he had a lot of spiritual power, but he didn't know how to use it. He could only rely on himself to figure it out. Wang Feng had carved out a path for himself. If he were to be compared to other cultivators, he would be a freak. He didn't need to learn any techniques to kill people. Therefore, when it came to using the mysterious dark spike to kill people, Wang Feng clearly felt that his spiritual power could increase the range, increase its power, and increase its control. However, he had no other way and could only fumble around on his own. Therefore, he could only control it within a range of about 30 meters. However, as long as it was within 30 meters, Wang Feng could use his mental power to drive the dark nether spike to form a sharp blade attack. It had a terrifying effect. Against low-level soul masters who didn't have any defenses, it was practically an instant kill. Wang Feng didn't even need to lift a finger to do it. This was the killing technique that Wang Feng dreamed of. So pretentious and cool. Wang Feng nodded in satisfaction as he watched the soul cultivators fall to the ground. Their throats had been slit almost instantly. His 2 years of bitter cultivation hadn't been in vain. Entrance. Wang Feng looked at the stunned waiter and said indifferently again. His method of killing was simply unheard of. None of the soul cultivators present had ever seen such a terrifying method of killing. He was like an ancient soldier who saw a modern person shooting with a hot weapon. He couldn't understand it, but at the same time, he was frightened and shocked. The waiter swallowed hard and looked at the soul masters around him. None of the soul masters made a move. But soon, they were a group of villains after all. They wouldn't be frightened by such a situation. After regaining their senses, they released their martial souls and rushed towards Wang Feng. Obviously, these people were most likely from the City of Massacres. If they wanted to enter, they had to turn this place into an Azura field. Wang Feng slightly creased his eyebrows. His psychic power burst out, and several sharp black blades suddenly appeared on his body like shooting stars. They directly formed a black net in the tavern. All the soul masters were strangled to death in a few seconds. Wang Feng stood in the center quietly. Flowers of blood bloomed around him. In just a moment, the ground was covered in blood. The waiter was suffocating. One person, standing in the same place, easily dealt with more than 10 soul masters. Entrance. Wang Feng looked at the waiter again. This time, the waiter didn't dare to say anything because there were several sharp blades on his body. He believed that as long as he didn't say the entrance, he would be killed by these black blades in the next moment. "It's here," the waiter said respectfully. As he spoke, he led Wang Feng to the back until they reached a bar counter. He seemed to have pressed some mechanism. The bar counter quickly changed, and a cave appeared on the ground. Wang Feng glanced at it and jumped down directly. Seeing Wang Feng leave, the waiter leaned on the bar counter and gasped for breath. He had received so many people who came to the city of massacres, but it was the first time he met someone like the white-clothed faceless man. It was too terrifying. His strength was too strange. The waiter stayed in a daze for a long time before he barely managed to catch his breath. After a few hours, the door suddenly opened again. The waiter didn't know why there were so many guests today. Looking at the door, he saw an old man and a young man. The young man was extremely handsome, but the old man was dressed in tattered clothes and was extremely sloppy. At this moment, he walked in with the young man and slowly said, "A cup of Bloody Mary." Halfway through his words, he suddenly froze. Because the scene in the tavern was really like hell. There were corpses everywhere. Everyone's eyes were wide open as if they didn't understand how they died. On the ground there was a real river of blood. "Dad, there seems to be a fight here." Tang San looked around and instantly saw everyone's wounds clearly. They were all killed in one hit. Their throats were slit by a sharp blade. Tang Hao nodded slightly. With his strength, he could naturally see the situation. The waiter walked over and pointed at the cup of wine that was originally for Wang Feng. "This is it. Drink it." Tang Hao nodded slightly. Tang San did not hesitate and drank it directly. He only felt a little disgusted. The waiter pointed at the hole under the counter behind him. He was not in the mood to say anything else. He had not recovered from the shock just now. "By the way, can I ask what happened here just now?" Tang San suddenly asked. The waiter was stunned and said impatiently, "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Don't you know the rules? If you don't, then get lost." After saying that, he directly walked back and ignored the two people. At that moment, Tang Hao said slowly, "Kill him, Lil 3. Tang San was stunned. Without any hesitation, his blue-silver grass turned into a sharp spike and directly pierced through the waiter's chest. "I'll tell you now, Lil 3. Seeing that, Tang Hao said indifferently, "The place I'm bringing you to is called the City of Massacre. There are no rules in that place. The only rule is to kill everyone who can threaten you. When we reach the City of Massacre later, you have to become the champion of the annual fee. When the time comes, I'll naturally come and pick you up." Do you see the scene here? It's a powerful person who killed all those villains and entered the City of Massacre. Tang Hao pointed at the scene around him. Tang San nodded and said, "It doesn't seem to be an ordinary powerful person. To be able to kill so many soul cultivators so easily, and all of them were killed in one hit. They didn't seem to have any ability to resist at all. He should be very powerful." Soul cultivators were not idiot. Why would they stand there and let someone kill them? The situation at the scene was too strange. This powerful person who went in first, no matter how powerful he is, will be your enemy. You have to be careful. Tang Hao was silent for a moment, then let Tang San jump directly into the cave. End of chapter. Chapter 496. After Wang Feng jumped into the cave, he walked for a long distance in the tunnel. While walking, Wang Feng thought to himself, "It's so mysterious, it's just to make people fear this massacre city. Otherwise, there would be no need to arrange such a long dark tunnel. Because in this kind of tunnel, normal soul masters would feel a little afraid of the dark and lonely environment. The longer they walked, the greater the fear." After walking for about 10 minutes, Wang Feng saw a large door. Pushing open the door, light slowly condensed. What entered his eyes were rows of black-armored warriors. The one in the center was riding a black warhorse, his entire body wrapped in armor. Behind these black-armored warriors was a pitch-black city. Above the city there was a purple moon. Without a doubt, this city was the Massacre City. That moon was very magical, as if it was man-made, only a few hundred meters tall. Massacre City. Wang Feng looked at the black city in the distance. In fact, apart from the color, this city was not much different from the human cities Wang Feng had seen before. Walking in from the door, Wang Feng felt as if he had entered a special domain. Especially under the illumination of the purple moon. His soul skill seemed to have been sealed. This also meant that he had entered the domain of the massacre city. Although Wang Feng had been completely tempered by the Red Lotus, and even remembered a lot of knowledge from his previous life clearly. But Wang Feng did not read the second half of the original story, so he did not know much about the massacre city, and even felt a little unfamiliar. Wang Feng basically did not read the second half of the original story. These black-armored warriors in front of him should be here to welcome outsiders who wanted to enter the massacre city. Defeat us and you will have the qualifications to enter the massacre city. The leader of the black-armored warriors said in a low and cold voice. You! Wang Feng frowned slightly. Who made this rule? I just made the rule. The black-armored warrior's cold voice was like a robot, as if he knew everything about the tavern. Wang Feng said with a smile. This massacre city was really a place of indulgence. There were really no rules. Even these black-armored warriors who represented the law enforcers were the same. At this time, the black-armored knight led 100 black-armored warriors to surround Wang Feng. He didn't know what material the black-armored warrior's armor was made of, but it looked abnormally hard. Under the purple moonlight, it gave off a dark luster. Their entire bodies were covered in armor. Like 800 Spartan warriors, they howled and gathered around Wang Feng. Although he couldn't use soul skills in this place, he could use his soul power, and he could use his martial soul's original form. Logically speaking, the restriction on Wang Feng was not that great. Although he couldn't use soul skills, Wang Feng couldn't use third gear. But second gear was more than enough. Especially, his current physical strength had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Within a 30-meter radius, all soul masters below rank 60 cannot come close to me. However, Wang Feng did not panic at all. After Wang Feng reached rank 53 and obtained his 5th soul ring, he now had more than 50,000 mysterious underworld spike. The Xian Ming armor also weighed over 20,000 kilograms. Furthermore, the dark nether spike had also been tempered by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Its lethality was simply terrifying. This was because the Xian Ming armor was an external soul bone. It was normally attached to the upper half of Wang Feng's body. As an external soul bone, it didn't affect the torso bone that was fused into his body. Wang Feng estimated that the mysterious underworld spike's poison might have been removed, but its damage was double. Not only could it harm his opponent's physical body, but it could also harm his opponent's spirit. However, the Xian Ming armor's abilities didn't change. It was only strengthened. As he saw the black-armored warriors charging towards him, Wang Feng shook his head. He stomped his foot gently. Instantly, countless black lights gathered behind Wang Feng's back and formed 5 sharp blades. 5 blades was the limit of what Wang Feng could control with his current spiritual power. Actually, Wang Feng could create more than 10 different forms of the mysterious underworld spike. However, it was more troublesome to use his spiritual power to control objects. He could only control 5 different sharp blades to attack. Defend! The black-armored knight shouted. The 100 black-armored warriors followed his orders. They formed groups of 2 and stood back to back. They raised their shields and wrapped themselves like dumplings. Can I defend? Wang Feng laughed. The mysterious underworld spike wasn't the same as his rank 40 mysterious underworld spike. Even if the black-armored warrior's armor was very tough, they couldn't block it. The 5 pitch-black sharp blades pierced through countless shields in the air. They were like 5 shooting stars as they shuttled through the 100-man formation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In less than 10 seconds, all the shields were pierced through. Combine! Wang Feng, who was still in a daze, continued to order. The 5 sharp blades were like mechanical pillars in mid-air. They formed a circular ring. The sharp blades were pointed outwards. They were like fiery wheels as they cut through all the black-armored warriors' armor. Fresh blood and flesh were exposed. Blood splattered everywhere. It bloomed all around Wang Feng. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a figure charged towards him from afar. It was the black-armored knight. His momentum was shocking. The lower half of his black-armored warhorse was like a sports car as he charged towards Wang Feng. Evidently, he wanted to attack Wang Feng directly. His opponent's strange attacking style was something he had never seen before. He clearly didn't use any soul skills, but he could release such a powerful long-range attack. After so many years in the City of Massacre, the black-armored knight had never seen such a powerful attack. Perhaps it was a soul bone. After all, one could use soul bones in the City of Massacre. But as long as the attack hit him, there shouldn't be any problems, right? Looking at the faceless man in white in front of him, the black-armored knight actually roared and increased his speed by a few degrees. Right at this moment, Wang Feng suddenly leaped lightly, and then he kicked out. Boom! The power of this kick caused an explosion in the air. The black-armored knight and his warhorse were sent flying as if the sports car had been hit by a high-speed train. His mind went blank at this moment. What tyrannical physical strength! Even with his momentum, he was still sent flying with a single kick from his opponent? He felt very clearly just now that the other party didn't even use soul power. In other words, he only used the purest of physical strength. The black-armored knight looked at his shattered armor and dead warhorse. Waves of pain came from his body as if telling him how terrifying the power of that kick was. At this moment, Wang Feng walked over. Am I qualified to enter the City of Massacre? The black-armored knight glanced at the faceless man in white. Seeing that the other party was still spotless and his white clothes were as white as snow, which seemed out of place in this dark world, he felt a little suffocated. He said in a hoarse voice, "Yes." After saying that, the black-armored knight threw a token to Wang Feng. Everyone who passes the test will receive a token as proof. Bring it with you and someone will come to the city gate to receive you. Wang Feng took the token and looked at it, only to find a few numbers on it. 9527. P.S. There are 4 or 5 more updates tonight. End of this chapter. Chapter 497. This number. It made Wang Feng feel a little emotional. After lamenting, Wang Feng ignored the black-armored knight and turned to walk towards the massacre city in the distance. The city gate was not big and the distance was not far. Several black-armored soldiers stood at the gate, as well as a few men and women. They seemed to be waiting to welcome the newcomers. The one who received Wang Feng was not a woman, but a man. He was about 30 years old and wore a black robe. There were some scars on his face, but he was not ugly. My name is Wu Ming. Welcome to the Massacre City. The man's voice was a little hoarse and low. In the next day, I will explain to you about the Massacre City. During this time, you are safe. After saying that, he seemed to feel that Wang Feng's clothes were a little strange and kept looking at Wang Feng. Wang Feng's mask did not have a single gap, and he indeed looked like a faceless man. Coupled with the white clothes, it was too eye-catching. Especially in this place. Wu Ming. Wang Feng looked at the man in surprise. Do you know 10,000 swords? Wu Ming was obviously stunned, frowned and shook his head. I don't know what you are talking about. If it is a soul skill, I don't know any 10,000 swords. The Massacre City does not allow the use of any soul skills. When we welcome newcomers, we use Wu Ming as a code name. Wang Feng laughed silently. Then, why don't you briefly tell me about the Massacre City? Wang Feng followed Wu Ming into the city. This city did not look big, and the buildings and even the floors were very ordinary. It was not much different from an ordinary city. Only the people who lived here were very special. The Massacre City is a domain left behind by a rank 100 soul master 1,000 years ago. I think you can feel that your soul skills can't be used in a place like this. Even if a titled Douluo came here, it would be the same. So if you want to live here, you can only rely on your own strength. Wu Ming continued to explain. The domain is a little weak. Wang Feng shook his head. There are no soul skills, but there is still soul power, martial soul, and soul bone. The soul power and soul bone should be completely sealed. Only then can it be considered the true massacre city. Relying on one's most primitive strength, they can kill. Wu Ming. Wu Ming resisted the urge to reprimand this white-clothed, faceless man and explained in a deep voice, "That's impossible, that is equivalent to sealing all the Soul Master's abilities, isn't that good? Pursue the most primitive killing." Wu Ming could not help but glance at the faceless man in white. He vaguely felt that he was right. Your massacre city's rule is that there are no rules, right? Wang Feng continued, as long as you want to do something, you can do it freely here. You don't even have to pay a price. I just saw that the people in the city even relied on free food to get it. However, one of them died immediately after eating it. Wang Feng's perception was too strong. After his entire body had been tempered into one, Wang Feng's perception of heaven and earth's energy allowed him to clearly perceive everything that was happening around him. Nothing that happened in the surroundings could escape Wang Feng's perception. There were lives being lost here at all times. According to Wu Ming, this place was protected by the Great Massacre King. Wang Feng felt that it should be the Prison King. This massacre city was more like an unbreakable prison. It imprisoned countless criminals. Those who entered were safe, but also very dangerous. It seems like you have a certain understanding of the massacre city. Wu Ming shook his head and said, I know the general rules of the massacre city. However, one of the biggest rules is that you can enter, but you can't leave. If you want to escape, the law enforcement team in the city that has been given soul skills by the Massacre King will kill you. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Even if he could not use soul skills, it would be very troublesome for him to face a titled Douluo who could use soul skills. If it was just an ordinary titled Douluo, it would be fine. If it was a rank 95 transcendent Douluo, his life would be in danger. But I think there's a way out? Wang Feng continued asking. This was the key point. Wang Feng was sure that the location of the check-in should be somewhere in the massacre city. After all, this was a city. Yes. Wu Ming glanced at Wang Feng. As long as you can rush out of the Hell Road, you can walk out of the massacre city, and every strong person who rushes out of the Hell Road will be crowned with the title of Massacre God. Hearing this, Wang Feng couldn't help but laugh. Massacre God? Crowned with a god's name, aren't you afraid of being displeased by the god? No, because there is no such god as the Massacre God. Wang Feng. Thinking about it, it seemed that there really was no such god as the Massacre God in the Douluo world. There was the Azura God, but there was no Massacre God. Where is the Hell Road? Wang Feng continued asking. He really didn't know much about the massacre city. At this moment, he naturally had to ask the novice village chief more. You want to go to the Hell Road? Wu Ming looked at Wang Feng and shook his head. Impossible, that's too difficult. Those who enter the massacre city are mostly vicious criminals from the outside world. Because they can't survive, they enter the massacre city and become the degenerates here. However, there are also more special soul masters who want to enter the massacre city to train. I think you should belong to this group, right? As the guide of the newcomers, Wu Ming seemed to be very experienced. Wang Feng nodded. There was nothing to hide. Of course, he didn't come to the massacre city to train. There were two purposes. One was to clock in. The second was to secretly cultivate the dark angel martial soul. With this place as nourishment, he could cultivate the true dark angel martial soul. Because, in comparison, the current dark sky was a martial soul. Other than the martial soul possession to strengthen his own abilities, he didn't have many abilities. Previously, he had awakened and evolved a blood pattern, which allowed him to have an aura similar to a domain. Generally, a true domain soul skill would require at least a titled Douluo to have it. However, Wang Feng felt that it should be able to form a true domain, but the awakening and evolution was not thorough enough. Sometimes, Wang Feng wondered if the 7 blood tattoos represented a kind of ability. When all 7 blood patterns were activated, 7 different domains would be superimposed. What kind of effect would there be? Therefore, this was the main reason why Wang Feng came to the Massacre City. Adventurers like you don't take our city of massacre seriously. Wu Ming shook his head and said, "It's ridiculous to want to rush out of the Hell Road. Let's put it this way. If you want to enter the Hell Road, you have to become the champion of the massacre field. And to become the champion, you have to win 100 matches in a row. And in every battle, out of 10 people, only 1 can survive. This means that you have to kill at least 1,000 people. Take note, these 1,000 people are all soul masters." End of this chapter. Chapter 498. Hell Slaughtering Field. This was the main theme of Slaughter City. 1 out of 10, it was that simple. The opponent in each battle would become stronger, fighting 100 battles in a row. If you fail in any of them, you will die. Wu Ming finally said. From the perspective of probability, the probability of surviving was about 1 out of 10 to the power of 100. "Alright, take me to Hell Slaughtering Field," Wang Feng said. The atmosphere and energy in Slaughter City could be said to be the most suitable for Dark Angel Martial Spirit cultivation. At this moment, he felt that the Dark Angel Martial Spirit was faintly throbbing, but Wang Feng did not show it, nor did he need it. And Hell Slaughtering Field was probably more suitable. I advise you to stay in the outer city for a few days or learn a little about Hell Slaughtering Field before you choose. Nameless furrowed his brows. As he spoke, he pointed at the many bone-thin soul masters in the outer city. All the soul masters in the City of Massacres have to participate in the Slaughterhouse Tournament once a year. Only then will they have the right to survive in the City of Massacres. In addition, you have to contribute 2 cups of Bloody Mary every month, which is the wine you drank when you came in. But after many people learned about Hell Slaughtering Field, they would rather contribute their own blood for a long time than enter Hell Slaughtering Field. Slaughter City was also divided into the inner and outer city. The inner city was where the real powerhouses stayed. It was also the most chaotic place in Slaughter City. In comparison, the outer city was much worse. Most of the soul masters in the outer city did not have much strength and were unwilling to go to Hell Slaughtering Field, so they could only struggle to survive here. "Alright, I know. Please take me to Hell Slaughtering Field?" Wu Ming took Wang Feng around the outer city, as if he wanted to let Wang Feng recognize the miserable situation in the outer city. But now that he saw Wang Feng was so fixed, Wu Ming did not persuade him anymore. Soon, Wu Ming brought Wang Feng into the inner city. "Damn, it's really spicy." As soon as he entered, Wang Feng felt that the air was exuding a depraved smell. One after another, live erotic scenes, comparable to a Japanese movie, were staged in every corner of the inner city. There was also an incomparably strong smell of blood mixed in. Mournful cries, joyful moans, and unrestrained laughter formed a depraved human music. Even when Wang Feng came in and saw this chaotic scene, he felt as if his soul was being attacked. Vaguely, Wang Feng felt that the Dark Angel Martial Spirit in his consciousness was slightly stirred, and the 7 blood marks that were hidden in his body slowly emerged. It seemed to be absorbing the various auras and emotions emitted by the fallen. This was especially true for the first glowing blood vein. It was getting brighter and brighter. This made Wang Feng quite happy. It seemed that he was right. This place was really suitable for the awakening of the Dark Angel Martial Spirit. What Dark Angel? She's more like a fallen angel. Wang Fengxin couldn't help but think. Nameless looked at the dazed Wang Feng and thought to himself, This newcomer is probably scared silly, right? The inner city could be said to be a completely devoid of humanity. Any soul cultivator who entered the city of massacres and stepped into the inner city for the first time would feel their stomach churn from the impact of this beast-like world. Some of them would even feel their minds weaken. Nameless led Wang Feng to walk unhurriedly, as if he wanted Wang Feng to see the inner city clearly so that he could recognize reality. Logically speaking, these indescribable scenes, accompanied by the thick smell of blood in the air, could indeed stimulate a soul cultivator's mind to a great extent. Those with weaker mental strength might die on the spot. This was because this kind of scene would cause all kinds of negative emotions in the soul cultivator's body, such as hostility, killing intent, desire. These emotions would cause the soul cultivator to lose himself. A slightly better outcome would be nothing more than becoming one of these fallen. After all, if they couldn't resist, they would have no choice but to join them. After walking around, Nameless brought Wang Feng to a special building. At this moment, Wang Feng, who had been silent, finally spoke. "What a good place!" Wang Feng looked at this place with admiration. Unfortunately, his expression was completely covered by the mask and Nameless couldn't see it. But when he heard Wang Feng's words, he was stunned. "Good place?" Nameless looked at the white-clothed faceless man with a blank face. He had received so many newcomers, but this was the first one who said such words after seeing the inner city. Strange. This white-clothed faceless man was really strange. Good place? At this moment, a chuckle came from the side. Wang Feng turned around and happened to see a young girl in a black veil. She was bringing a handsome young man to this place. This young man, could he be Tang San? Wang Feng looked at the handsome blue-haired young man. With his perception, he could clearly feel that this young man's aura was very similar to Little Three's. But the change was indeed great, because Little Three's appearance could only be said to be average before. It seemed that he had become so handsome after awakening the blue-silver Emperor martial soul. The laughter came from the girl in a black veil next to the young man. She was naturally also a new guide and happened to be in charge of receiving Little Three. "I didn't expect to meet him here," Wang Feng muttered. "It seems that he has become a lot stronger. His soul power has also reached rank 53, close to rank 54? He's even higher than me. Not bad, not bad." With the perception soul skill in his skull at this time, coupled with the perception ability of his body at this time, not to mention Tang San, even if Tang Hao was in front of him, Wang Feng could also sense it clearly. On the other side, Tang San's heart skipped a beat. This person, the mask on his face doesn't even show his eyes. Why do I feel like I've been completely seen through? This feeling made Tang San frown slightly. He had never felt this way after the blue-silver grass became the blue-silver Emperor martial soul. "Do you see?" The girl in a black veil pointed at Wang Feng and said to Tang San, 9528, "This person is very likely to be your predecessor, but since you insist on coming here, I can only say that you are too naive. The Hell Slaughterhouse is not so easy to win, and the inner city is not so easy to stay in. Based on what he said just now, once the novice protection period is over, many people will assassinate him." Tang San's eyes turned cold. Along the way, the girl in a black veil had told him about the inner city. Because there were no rules in the inner city, even if you were assassinated on the spot, you could only blame yourself for being weak. As the emissary of the King of Massacre, the girl in a black veil was the new guide and could protect the newcomers for a day. Wang Feng. Although Wang Feng knew that he would encounter Little Three in the slaughterhouse, he didn't expect to encounter them in such a situation. "Ha ha! I didn't expect that 2 more fledglings would come to our inner city. They even said that this is a good place." Sure enough, several gazes fell directly on Wang Feng, and all kinds of laughter sounded. End of chapter. Chapter 499. One of the bald men even let out a disdainful sneer. His gaze fell on Wang Feng, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. The black-veiled girl pointed at the bald man and said in a low voice, "This person is very strong. If that 9527 didn't have a novice protector, she might have been killed by this person. He has already won 10 matches in the Hell Slaughterhouse." In the City of Massacre, because there were no soul skills, the strength of a soul master depended on how many matches he won in the Hell Slaughterhouse. Because every victory would allow one to live for one more year in the City of Massacre, 10 victories was a very high number. Tang San looked at the bald man and thought, this person should be a 6-ringed soul emperor. Although he doesn't have any soul skills, he should have a beast martial soul or something. His physical fitness is very strong, no wonder he can win 10 matches. At this time, a few screams suddenly came from afar. The screams attracted the attention of many people. They couldn't help but look over. Wang Feng also looked over and saw that on the ground far away, a woman was surrounded by several burly men with large arms and large waists. They were actually trying to kill her on the street. "Do you see that?" The black-veiled girl pointed at the woman and said, "After the Hell Slaughterhouse, even if you win, you will be surrounded and killed by those with evil intentions. You have to know that after the Hell Slaughterhouse, you are all very weak. Once you are surrounded and killed at this time, how dangerous would it be? This woman is the most famous Hell emissary in our City of Massacre recently. She has already won 21 matches in a row in the Hell Slaughterhouse. Within a year, she has won 21 matches. After almost every victory, she would be surrounded and killed. This time, the few people who surrounded her are not weak. They are all experts who have maintained more than 10 victories." The black-veiled girl introduced the woman to Tang San. Wu Ming also introduced the woman to Wang Feng. The woman who was besieged had her long hair tied behind her back, revealing a beautiful face without makeup. There was a hint of seductiveness. The woman's perfect figure was vividly displayed by her black clothes. Her figure was only second to Zhu Zhuqing's figure that Wang Feng had seen. Wang Feng recognized who this woman was at a glance. Hu Liena. Wang Feng thought, indeed, she's here too. Xingxing's aura is still there and it's still stable. Looks like she's been doing well these 2 years. That's right, this woman was indeed Hu Liena. Hu Liena, who had her charm broken by Wang Feng's whistle and suffered a backlash. 2 years had passed, and Hu Liena's growth was no less than Tang San's. Her soul power was already close to rank 58. It was an increase of almost 5 levels. Although it could not be compared to Tang San, who had leveled up 10 times in 2 years. However, Hu Liena had been at rank 53 2 years ago. After rank 50, her soul power increased very slowly. It was not easy for Hu Liena to have such an improvement. After all, his martial spirit has mutated. Wang Feng shook his head. Wang Feng heaved a sigh of relief after learning that star was still in Hu Liena's soul bone. Perhaps sensing something, Hu Liena also glanced at Wang Feng. Just now, the star consciousness in Hu Liena's skull suddenly moved, as if it had sensed something. However, after seeing Wang Feng, Hu Liena frowned slightly. This person was dressed so strangely. The mask completely covered his eyes, and nothing could be seen. Hu Liena shook her head slightly, suddenly looked to the other side, and frowned slightly again. Tang San's appearance had changed a lot, but it was not untraceable. However, the plot of the Pope's palace had changed too much, and Hu Liena's impression of Tang San was not as strong as in the original work. The two had only fought once in the team battle, and Hu Liena had almost turned the tables. However, in the end, Tang San used the 8-spider spear fragment to forcefully injure a few people. And in that match, Hu Liena and the other two were very unconvinced, because they had been seriously injured by Wang Feng in the morning, and even after some healing, they had barely recovered a little. But at that time, Evil Moon and Yen were unable to use their 10,000-year soul skills. Therefore, although Shrek's team won that match, the three members of the Golden Generation were very unconvinced. In fact, in Wang Feng's estimation of that match, or in Tang San's thinking after the match, it was indeed so. If the three members of the Golden Generation were not injured, with the strength of the three members of the Golden Generation at that time, Shrek really wouldn't have had a chance to win. Therefore, Hulaina came to the City of Massacre to cultivate and become stronger, to a greater extent, because of the 9-1 opening at that time. Later, during the battle at the Pope's Palace, Hulaina was directly knocked out by Bibidon. Although she did not see the battle, she heard about it later. At that time, she felt even more incredible. After all, Wang Feng had fought two titled Douluo in the Pope's Palace, causing the injuries of those two titled Douluo to not recover. This kind of battle record was really too amazing. The unimaginable strength of the 9-1 opening made the three members of the Golden Generation feel a little desperate. Hulaina came to the City of Massacre purely to make herself stronger. She didn't even think about surpassing and defeating the 9-1 opening, because the distance was too big. It was simply not something that could be made up for by cultivation. Even teacher Bibidon said that a person like the 9-1 opening might only appear once in a few thousand years on the continent. But unfortunately, he was not from the Martial Spirit Palace, so he could only fall. There was no possibility of survival. The Martial Spirit Palace would not tolerate such a genius to grow up. A genius like the 9-1 opening, once he grows up, his influence will be greater than the two empires and the 7 great sects. Hulaina still remembered what her teacher said when she was about to leave the Pope's palace. Laina, don't think about surpassing such a person, because it's meaningless. What we need to think about is to kill him. Now that we have succeeded, the next one is Tang San. It was precisely because of this that Hulaina came to the City of Massacre to cultivate, just to make herself stronger. This kind of purest willpower was actually the most precious, not because of someone or something, just to become stronger. Hulaina actually had another goal, and that was to revive the consciousness of the star in her skull. Of course, this idea was hidden in the deepest part of her heart. The reason for this idea was that Hulaina had already regarded the star as the most intimate existence. After all, Hulaina would not share many words with Bibidon, but she would choose to share them with the star. Because the star in her skull was actually equivalent to the ring grandpa. After a long time, naturally their relationship was extremely deep. Especially in the year since she came to the City of Massacre, Hulaina's heart had accumulated a lot of negative emotions at the beginning. After all, living in a place like the inner city for a long time was really torturous to the willpower of a soul master. Hulaina had simple exchanges with the star in her skull every day. In this year, Hulaina found that not only had her spiritual power improved tremendously, but even her fighting had become incomparably smooth. End of this chapter. Chapter 500. With these reasons, Hulaina could be said to be the closest to Xing Xing. After all, Xing Xing had accompanied her in Massacre City for a year and helped her resolve her mental stress every day. Anyone would be close to Xing Xing. With all these reasons added up, Hulaina had the idea of reviving Xing Xing's consciousness and truly awakening it. But it was just an idea. At this moment, her short blade was like a silver light falling blade. It quickly brought about bursts of blood around the burly men. A moment later, the burly men who were surrounding her were all killed on the spot. The short battle caused Hulaina's cheeks to be slightly stained with blood. There was also a demonic beauty. At this moment, an extremely dangerous feeling rose in Hulaina's heart. Several sharp blades suddenly appeared on the body of the white-clothed faceless man. They floated up gently. It was extremely strange. The next moment, those sharp blades cut through the void with a whoosh and attacked Hulaina directly. Seeing this, Hulaina was shocked. What kind of ability was this? Killing people in the air with a weapon, this method was too shocking. So fast. Tang San's expression froze, and he was also shocked. Because he had never seen such a method before. In Tang San's previous life, he knew that some martial arts masters could use flying leaves to hurt people. Some even had the ability to control objects. They could grab all kinds of objects in the air to defend against enemies. When one cultivated the mysterious jade hands to a high level, they could also do this. But it was far from being so exaggerated. Because even the mysterious jade hands required the use of the mysterious heaven skill and various hand gestures to barely be able to do it. But now, several sharp blades suddenly rose from the body of the white-clothed faceless man and attacked Hulaina at a terrifying speed. There were almost no soul power fluctuations. He didn't even move. Was this purely spiritual control? Thinking of this, Tang San was shocked. In his previous life, wasn't it said that only those who had reached the innate stage of martial arts and the realm of three flowers at one's prominence could use it? Tang San boasted that his spiritual power had reached a terrifying level, comparable to the spiritual power of a soul Douluo. However, it was impossible for him to control objects with his mind. That was a problem of two completely different worlds. He could only do it with the help of the Tang sect's martial arts techniques, but it was impossible for him to achieve such a terrifying speed. Hulaina almost wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Because it was the first time she had seen this kind of attack, her reaction was half a beat slower. However, those sharp blades whistled past her cheeks, and the biting cold wind even cut off a few strands of her fluttering hair. Ah! Immediately after, a miserable cry came from behind Hulaina. Hulaina suddenly woke up and turned around, only to see a bald man, like a ghost, pouncing towards her, but was instantly dismembered by those sharp blades. Like a pig being slaughtered, it fell to the ground, splashing blood everywhere. The scene was extremely bloody. The numerous sharp blades were like secret machines, their lethality was simply astonishing. Only then did Hulaina heave a sigh of relief. She thought to herself, so this faceless man wanted to kill the person who ambushed me. It was only because the other party was behind him that he had the misconception that the other party was going to attack him. This bald man was really the one who had sneered at him with killing intent in his eyes just now. The sharp blades were not stained with the slightest bit of blood. They returned to Wang Feng's body and disappeared. In an instant, the scene fell silent. Especially the girl in black next to Tang San, she looked at Wang Feng with a shocked face. This is too strong. No matter what, the bald man was someone who had won 10 battles in the slaughterhouse. Yet, this faceless man had killed him without even lifting a finger? Thinking of what she had said just now, the girl in black suddenly felt that her face was swollen. With this kind of strength, he was indeed qualified to say such words. The slaughterhouse was a place where strength mattered, not a place where how long you had stayed. Occasionally, there would be a few special existences among the newcomers. This 9527 is not simple. The girl in black said, in the future he will definitely become a great person in the slaughterhouse. You must learn from him. Tang San. You didn't say that just now, right? Isn't it a lesson from the past? How can you change so quickly? Tang San was speechless for a while, but he also understood that the strength of this faceless man was indeed very unusual. Moreover, Tang San also saw that the person who entered the slaughterhouse before him should be the one who used incomparably fierce attacks to kill those soul masters in the tavern. Even the 100 black-armored soldiers behind him were all killed by him. Tang San followed him all the way, so he naturally knew what happened later. Weight, mask, white robe. Could it be that there is such a familiar attack method, then he is Brother Feng? Tang San was shocked. Brother Feng liked to put on a mask and robe the most, then use his name to hide his identity. Tang San knew something. Thanos, Thor, Monster Captain, 9-1 Open, although the names were strange, Brother Feng indeed liked to disguise himself as various identities. Tang San suddenly looked at the pile of rubble. Although it looked a little disgusting, he frowned slightly. When Brother Feng transformed into 9-1 Open, the soul bone he used was slightly similar to this faceless man, but it was much worse than the faceless man's current attack method, and there was no poison on the faceless man's blade. Tang San remembered the scene when he was attacked on the way to Martial Spirit City. 9-1 Open, who was also Brother Feng, used the soul bone to kill people when they were attacked. It contained a strong corrosive poison, and once one was hit, they would quickly turn into corpse water. It shouldn't be Brother Feng, Tang San shook his head. There is no poison on the faceless man's soul bone, and this method of using the mind to control objects is too mysterious. It's like the difference between heaven and earth with Brother Feng's method of using the soul bone. It's just a little similar. After many thoughts in his mind, Tang San rejected his own idea. Moreover, if Brother Feng is still alive, why would he come to the slaughterhouse? Tang San glanced at the faceless man in white vigilantly. At that time, the bald man had died. Hulaina quickly reacted, then walked in front of Wang Feng and said faintly, "Thank you. You should be new here, right? I don't know if I can." "No, get lost." Hulaina was taken aback. She had been ambushed just now. Although it wasn't because of her, it was because the bald man had spoken rudely and even had killing intent towards the faceless man. Coincidentally, they had killed him as well. However, it was true that they had indirectly helped her this time, so it shouldn't be a problem for her to express her gratitude, right? And ask him for his name, right? Unexpectedly at this time, the faceless man said coldly, "Psycho, why are you thanking me for no reason?" Hulaina. After the faceless man finished speaking, he walked toward the Hell Slaughterhouse not far away. P.S. Today's update, this chapter ends. Chapter 501. The chaos in the inner city was something Wang Feng did not expect before. Sometimes, just a single strand of killing intent was enough to make people go berserk. What a strange person. Hulaina shook her head, looking at the faceless man's back. She had a strange feeling. The other party's behavior was actually very normal in this place, because everyone was vigilant. No one was kind to you, so seeing the other party do this, Hulaina actually admired him. She thought the other party was a newcomer, but she didn't expect him to be so fierce and ruthless, and also so vigilant, not giving anyone any chance at all. This kind of person was often extremely difficult to deal with in the inner city. Moreover, he shouldn't be interested in women. Hulaina thought to herself. With her appearance, who knew how many people coveted her? To put it bluntly, as long as she nodded slightly, there would be a bunch of men with impure intentions coming to her. Of course, Hulaina didn't think that the other party was doing this deliberately, playing hard to get, because there was no need at all in this inhumane place. That kind of low-level method was meaningless. In a place like the inner city, if a man wanted to attract a woman, he could only go to the hell-killing field. I hope I don't meet him. Hulaina suddenly glanced at Tang San again, and then walked away on her own. With the strength of the white-clothed faceless man, not to mention Hulaina, even Tang San felt that it was extremely troublesome. Naturally, he was also secretly vigilant, hoping not to meet him easily. After all, once they met, it would be a matter of life and death. The hell-killing field is ahead. Nameless took Wang Feng to a building similar to the Great Soul Arena. After the performance just now, Nameless didn't dare to underestimate Wang Feng now. It was also because Nameless didn't see the scene of Wang Feng's battle with the black-armored knight before, otherwise, he would have respectfully brought Wang Feng to the hell-killing field. There are no specific rules here. Nameless continued. Take your token and sign up directly, and then wait for the competition to start. There are 10 people in each competition. You just need to survive. Except for not using soul skills, you can use any means. Wang Feng nodded slightly. He found that after killing the bald man just now, the blood pattern of the dark angel martial spirit moved slightly, as if it was a little brighter. It seemed that killing people here could stimulate the dark angel martial soul to a greater extent. However, there was also the impact of some negative emotions. But now Wang Feng's body was spotless and his soul was incomparably pure. He was not affected by these negative emotions at all. He disappeared in an instant. Of course, you can also go in and watch the battle, and the qualification to watch the battle requires a cup of Bloody Mary. Wu Ming pointed at a man who was holding a cup of Bloody Mary. It can be the enemy's or your own. It's fine as long as you have it. The slaughter city seemed to be in desperate need of fresh blood. Bloody Marys seemed to have become a special currency here. After all, the contribution of 2 cups per month would allow them to survive in Slaughter City. This thing was still very precious. Wang Feng did not intend to spectate the battle. Instead, he directly entered the competition. The competition went very smoothly. In the first match, Wang Feng sensed that the strength of these people was not at the same level. Many of them had forced themselves to come to this match. Perhaps they didn't want to contribute Bloody Mary anymore and wanted to fight in the slaughterhouse. There were also some who were participating in the competition for the first time. The rest of the people had won 5 matches or less. This was also the rule of the competition. Among the 10 people, the difference between the weakest and the strongest was about 5 matches. It would not exceed this number. This was to prevent people who had too many victories from being matched with people who did not participate in a single match. That would be completely meaningless. Therefore, not only in the first match, but also in the following matches in the following month, Wang Feng met opponents with less than 20 victories. They were far inferior to the bald man he had killed before. The competition was completely a one-sided slaughter. In the following month, Wang Feng did not make a move in the entire competition. Once the mysterious underworld spike was used, these thugs who couldn't even use soul skills were far inferior to the black-armored warriors. Naturally, they were directly slaughtered. The battle ended very quickly. However, the city of slaughter was still the city of slaughter. Who knew how many vicious and evil people were gathered here? Their numbers were uncountable. Seeing how powerful Wang Feng was, they were not afraid at all. Instead, after the competition ended, they crazily ambushed and assassinated Wang Feng. It was endless. It was because of this that Wang Feng would lose at least 2 digits of lives every day. It was very terrifying. Wang Feng had never killed so many people before. Especially after the second day, Wang Feng was besieged by almost 30 people. Logically speaking, it was really exaggerated. Fortunately, the strength of Wang Feng's mysterious underworld spike was displayed at this time. If Wang Feng were to kill these people himself, he would probably be stained with blood and have to change his clothes many times every day. But with the mysterious underworld spike, all lives within 30 meters were under his control. Don't even think about getting close to me. After killing so many people, Wang Feng didn't feel anything. On the first day, there was a slight fluctuation. But after thinking about it, he didn't know how many people here had to bear to come here. Killing them was simply getting rid of evil. Wang Feng didn't feel embarrassed at all. Not long after, Wang Feng felt the second blood pattern of his dark angel martial soul faintly light up on his body. It seemed like it was about to awaken. Wang Feng realized that every time the blood pattern appeared, it would greatly increase his overall strength. Other than the domain-like aura, his body's attributes were at least twice as strong. The black wings on his back also had the ability to fly. Every pair of wings corresponded to a blood pattern. But after the blood pattern was activated, the black wings would also light up. There were many strange symbols on the pitch-black energy wings. Because the massacre capital was special, it could also conceal the aura of the dark angel martial soul. Therefore, Wang Feng wasn't worried that the Qianrenxue would sense it. When he was alone, Wang Feng would secretly use it to check the situation. Just like that, Wang Feng cultivated the dark angel martial soul in the infernal slaughterhouse. For him, who had already endured the lonely training in the extreme north, the days in the infernal slaughterhouse were relatively easy. Because he didn't need to do anything and didn't need to expose his strength. He could easily become stronger. This was a place that Wang Feng dreamed of. On the other side, Wang Feng would occasionally check on Little Three's situation. He wasn't worried. After all, Little Three was the protagonist of the original work. His life in the massacre capital was basically smooth sailing. However, the battles in the infernal slaughterhouse made Little Three more calm and his temperament inclined towards darkness. Clearly, under such a high intensity of killing, his mind was somewhat tense, which affected his temperament. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.